I'm not gonna lie, the toilet acting. I want someone to take this out of context. The Ryan Gosling toilet acting has never been touched. It will never be touched.
Nope. Alrighty, welcome back to Cinema Pursuit. Yet again, Drake is on the pod. We have a great episode with the 2016 Shane Black movie, The Nice Guys, starring Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, and Angourie Rice. I think this movie is stellar. It's a fun time. It's something of like I love detective movies. And me and Drake, we also did The Big Heat on his pod, the First Time Watch podcast. Something of I think a genius format of, essentially getting to talk about a movie that you probably know about, but you just have not seen yet. And that's such a interesting conversation to have too. So definitely check out his pod, the First Time Watch pod, and I'll have everything linked below for him and, for Drake and for the pod. Definitely check him out. And I'll get to this episode because we had a great time talking about Ryan Gosling and the fact that I think this is one of the most hilarious performances I've ever seen, and the fact that this movie is a bit unsung. It's a bit underrated, underseen. So if you haven't seen the movie, definitely check it out. Obviously, these conversations are always fully spoiler conversations, but we'll see you at the movies. We love The Nice Guys.
Alrighty. Welcome back to Cinema Pursuit, where in the pursuit of cinema, we talk about the movies we love. Today, we're talking about probably the most capital A adult movie that we've talked about on the pod. Meaning, Sean Baker talks about movies. He's like, oh, we need adult cinema in the theaters. Movies made for adults, about adults, in adult situations. This is exactly that. And I'm glad to be doing it. We're doing The Nice Guys. And we've got a returning guest, but first-time guest for a movie. Drake, what's up?
Oh yeah, I just realized I haven't actually done a legit movie on the pod.
Even though
I've only done Psych and the draft.
the horror movie draft,
Yeah. I'm down.
But we just did the Big Heat, right? For
did.
Noir November
We did.
on your pod for first
watch podcast.
First watch podcast. See, that's how you know it's early in the morning.
I know.
Like it's either early or too late.
I know. I'm in the same boat.
But it's in the sense that, we've had a lot of conversations, and this is going to be just as good in the sense that The Big Heat is a noir movie. This is like neo-noir, but you've kind of got some action and comedy in there. And a lot of my favorite movies do this, which is it's one thing. It might be a subgenre, but it's also doing a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Back to the Future is science fiction with comedy, with, a family. Like, it's got so many things going on. And a good movie for me usually does that. And before we get into The Nice Guys, I got to ask you the main question I always ask everybody, where if you've come on the pod, we're talking about a movie. Where did your love for cinema come from, Drake?
Well, I'd actually, grown up watching movies my entire life. As a kid, I could really only watch certain things because my parents would only let me watch certain things. So it was always reruns of The Lion King, Toy Story, all the sports movies you could think of, which is why I'm such a big sports fan. And it wasn't until, I guess, the past couple of years when I started to dive into other things. I had watched The Nice Guys in theaters. I had seen Nightcrawler in theaters, but I didn't really appreciate it in the same way that I do now.
Yeah.
I started to really look at other types of movies, whether it be international or whatever, and started to find little nuances that I enjoy very recently in the past, maybe 3-4 years, and even more so in the past year because of things that have gone on in my life. But that's when it really started to ramp up. And then also being on film sets and stuff just as an extra made me kind of look at it in a different way and go, oh, okay, this is a thing. And appreciating that, and then wanting to be a part of it because I look at the collaborative nature of the art of making film, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I really like that. So it was very recent that I really grasp onto the concept of loving movies. But I have always, watched and loved movies. It's just the appreciation has grown deeper in the past, year or two.
Yeah, no, there comes a point in your life where it's like you go from a viewer to like, an appreciator to like, it's slowly go behind the camera in some way. For me, I mean, yeah, it's in the blood. It's also something where, yeah, like like just as Indians, I know you know this personally for the fact I was looking it up today that if you go to any cinema pretty much across like America, you will find that there's at least one Indian movie playing.
Brother, we got
Whether
5
it's this
going all
yeah,
the time.
like whether it's a South movie, whether it's a Bollywood movie, Tollywood, Bollywood, Malayalam, something is playing because the level of love when it comes to cinema for Indians is always there.
Yeah.
My family actually worked within the business at some point, but mainly for me, in the sense that you're talking about, I was like in middle school. I don't think I've talked about this on the pod because I was essentially we were in a Spanish class. Shout out Miss Saxon, this lady. I love her. But she was like, "Oh, like let's make a TV show. Here's those flip cameras, like the
Yeah, I
ones
had one.
where the little USB
Yeah.
comes out, you can plug it in the computer."
Had one.
She essentially handed me one of those on a tripod and was like, "Here you go. The next week or so, y'all make TV shows, whatever. You're all talented kids. Make a TV show, essentially like American Idol for what do you call it? Just like for the class, essentially."
Yeah.
So on one hand, we're being creative with Spanish, and then we're also doing the talent wise, right? So I'm behind the camera. Me and Zach are behind the camera. We have another buddy, Robert Wiggins. He was behind the camera. We're making commercials. We're making NCIS riffs. We're making, we had a few women in our class who were dancers, great dancers to this day.
Yeah.
And they were doing dances. I had people who could sing, she was singing, that sort of thing. So it's like everybody, coming together, either behind the camera or in front of the camera to have this like creative experience. So it was definitely interesting. And you don't realize it then, but it's like slowly. And then obviously in high school, did, a decent amount of like trying to do film in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, it definitely got to a point where it's like, yeah, I love doing this. And there's something about it. There's like you said, that communal nature of trying to do something together, which you don't realize it in the moment, but as you get older, you start to care about it a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I love that you have to find your path to it,
Yeah.
I think Seth, like movie friend Seth,
Mhm.
was talking about it today. I usually am not on Twitter, but I saw him say something that's like everybody in life needs some sort of passion, hobby,
Creative
something.
outlet. Yeah, I saw that.
In the sense that like you need to be interested in something in life.
Mhm.
And it's kind of scary if you're not, because
Yeah.
you need to put your creative energy somewhere. And I believe that you can be creative at no matter what job you do. It doesn't matter. You can be creative there. You can be creative at your home. You can be creative anywhere. But you have to bring that out in yourself. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
Yes, sir.
But the Nice Guys, what are your memories for the Nice Guys? Because I we're pretty much hot off of doing Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Because Edgar Wright, yeah. And I was low key having like a deja vu of like, wait, when did I just talk about like buddy movies? I love like buddy movies. I love action comedy. I love noir detective movies. So it was like this is just as much up my alley as Hot Fuzz is.
Yeah.
So what are your memories for this?
Yeah, so I had seen this in theaters originally because I was like 19 at the time whenever it came out. I think I went and saw this with my best friend from high school at the time, if I remember correctly. We went and saw it at like a local theater in Georgia, and I really enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed the hell out of it. I didn't know really what to expect. I knew nothing about Shane Black. I knew nothing. The most I knew was Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. That was it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this seems fun. It seemed like it was up my alley at that time. So I was like, I will at least go give it a shot. And I enjoyed the hell out of it then. It's been some time before I revisited it. I revisited it maybe a couple years ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I still love this movie. And then I rewatched it again yesterday in preparation for this. And I was like, oh yeah, this still holds up. Like everything about this movie.
It always will.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of those movies that is going to be in the next 20 to 30 years a what would be considered a classic, I would argue.
A cult classic,
A cult
sadly.
classic, yeah. But
Yeah,
a
because
classic.
it's like, it's a classic, but it's like it's a cult classic because just it never found an audience per se.
No.
It found an audience, but it didn't find the audience it deserved.
No.
And I believe that since I saw it in theaters too, because or a random question, did you see Central Intelligence in
No,
theaters?
I didn't. And
They
yeah.
they switched up the release dates between Central Intelligence and this.
Really?
And yeah, it
Why?
was a few weeks of a difference, meaning like this could have been a June release, but they put it at Memorial Day weekend.
Mm.
And do you know what else came out Memorial Day weekend?
No, not back then. I don't remember back then.
You remember that one game that everybody used to play where they have the birds that are, being flung across the screen?
Oh,
I'm talking about
Angry
Angry
Birds? Are
Birds.
you
Angry
serious?
Birds, the movie came out.
Oh, that was 2016?
That was 2016.
How many
They
lives have I
probably made,
lived since then? That was 2016.
yeah. And
Oh my god.
that came out that weekend, and I remember seeing the movie. It's such a vivid and happy memory of going to see The Nice Guys in theaters because it was Memorial Day weekend. It was my buddy's birthday. Same thing, my buddy from high school, it was his birthday.
Yeah.
And we went to see it, and the theater was empty.
Yeah,
It was
same thing.
but it was premiere night. It was like Thursday night, if I remember, at like a 9-10 p.m. show. And it was empty. I was like, oh, this is a vibe. We had a great time, obviously in the movie and in the theater. And I was like, this is like one of the best movies I've seen. This is one of the best movies this year. This movie's going to do so well. And then it didn't.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of sad to see that people, on one hand, my logic then was like, people love Ryan Gosling, The Notebook and every other thing. People love this man.
Mhm.
This is Russell Crowe, Gladiator. People love this man. And even then, people didn't see this movie. I understand, like, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang came out 2005.
Yeah.
Pre-Iron Man. Val Kilmer, R.I.P. RDJ. Michelle Monaghan. Corbin Burnson, who plays, listen to this. This is why you need to watch Kiss Kiss Bang. Have you seen Kiss Kiss Bang
Yeah,
Bang?
a long time ago.
Okay. Because our man, who plays Sean's dad,
Yeah.
in Psych, he obviously, we're not going to, spoil that role, but you know what
Yeah.
he's great in that movie. And, that movie pretty much bombed.
Yeah.
I think they had a 10 million budget. They made like 15 million or something like that. Very small. No one really knew. That became a cult classic. It already is one. So I see that it happened again, but you would hope that, this was a proper mid-budget $50 million movie. They made 62 million worldwide, 36 million in America, which,
That seemed really
they didn't
low.
make their money. Yeah, they didn't really make their money back.
Mm.
And now we're in a streaming era, and it doesn't feel like 2016 was long. It's been 9 years.
Yeah.
And Shane Black's new movie, in between, he made Predator, and that was a mess with the studio. But his new movie that's very much up this same alley, it's on Prime. It's on streaming, And, I don't know if you know this. My problem is that if it's on streaming,
What movie is it?
Play Dirty.
Well, right. I was gonna watch that this week because I was like,
Yeah.
that was another one of the 2025 movies that I haven't seen yet. That's right.
And I watched the first 5 minutes or first 10 minutes, and I was like, whoa, okay. People, I don't know what people are saying. This movie's cooking, right? Even though, I'm like, I can stand Mark Wahlberg. I wouldn't say I love him, but I can stand him. And I think he has some good movies. But I was like, okay, this is cooking. I was like, I was like, okay, I gotta come back and like take the time to watch this. And if it was in the theaters, I would have already gone and seen it,
Yeah.
But now it's just dumped on Prime for everybody to watch with, 6 minutes 6 minutes of ads per hour, but yeah, you see the difference of like where adult cinema is going to the streaming.
Yeah.
And we're coming, I don't mean to usually talk about legacies so early, but the fact is that Jim Cameron was talking about it in Stand on Business yesterday. It's kind of funny that he brought this up, that Netflix shouldn't even, Netflix, but also like Prime, like they shouldn't be able to like compete at the Oscars if you're not putting these movies in the theater for long, right? All they have to do is put it in theaters a couple weeks in LA and like New York, nowhere else really, and then they get qualified.
It's so funny you said that because I kid you not, I was listening to our boys on the commentary doing their weekly recap, and
Yeah,
that is
Tony and Pat.
exactly what they said. That is
Yeah.
exactly what they were talking about how, like, Train Dreams will probably not get nominations, but as long as they're in the theaters for, like, that week or whatever, even in one theater in LA, that they'll end up getting nominations, which is kinda weird. I do think even they were saying it should be longer than that, and it should be a wider release, but that's just me. I think it should at least be in theaters for a month before it gets any sort of consideration, but that's just me.
This movie was The Nice Guys was in theaters. It came out in May. The DVD came out in August,
Yeah.
mid-August, late August. And then the Blu-ray or the 4K just recently came out,
Yep.
right? It's
I was
like
scrambling
9
for
years
that.
later it
Yeah.
came out, right? And it's great. That baffles me. But it even in 2016, which doesn't seem like a long time ago, it is a long time ago because they took the time of COVID and, whether it's anyone like Focus or any other company, they don't really want to keep the theater windows because they see it as an expense that they don't want to pay.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this yesterday because they were talking about the fact that Warner Brothers, which is the company that made this, that might get bought by Netflix, and they're like, "Oh, we'll keep your little theater
That
experience
scares me
there."
so much.
And the problem is that today I really don't. I don't want to be having this
I
conversation, but
know.
it is the conversation to have. Is the fact that we need people to be people. We don't need them to be the you know the cronies of a corporation. And this movie is fundamentally. I would, if you want to talk about what this movie's about, it's about porn and catalytic converters. That's what this movie's
Oh,
about
yeah.
in a very real sense. And the problem in this movie is that they think that one thing is like taboo, but the other thing is fine to do, which
Yeah.
is to pay for corporations to pay politicians to make their problems go away, even though they say they're killing the birds, but they're killing human beings
Yeah.
with what they're. And that's the issue. And this is the same issue that's happening today, but it's happening worse because I was just a random example, right? If you go to Papa John's, they used to give you little peppers inside the pizza,
Banana
you
peppers?
know? Yeah, pepper genies or something, they put them in there.
Yep.
If you go anywhere, but those things are going away. You go somewhere, that you have to ask for extra sauces and pay for them, just as an example, right? In a time before this, human beings just, we just give this stuff because this is just the right thing to do. There's no cost behind this because that's what the product is that you're buying, right?
Yeah.
And we're product buying and observing the art of movies. And the experience of a movie should be in the theater. We are paying for that. We're not paying for streaming. Even though we are paying for streaming, I don't want to see this movie in the house,
Yeah.
I didn't want to see Prey in the house.
Yeah.
Dan Trachtenberg's Prey in the house.
Yeah.
I finished that movie with my pops. I was like, that would have been so good to see in the theater.
Yeah.
And I have experiences like that constantly where I'm like, I don't want to see this at home. I need to see it in the theaters.
Felt the same way
I
with
haven't
Frankenstein.
watched Train Dreams yet. Train Dreams has not been watched yet.
Yeah, me neither.
Because it's at home. I don't want to watch it at home. I want to watch it in the theater. It's not going to be in the theater, so I'll just watch it on my own time so I don't feel the need to watch it. But we need that experience and we need a connection to it. Society needs a connection to it because they need a connection to humanity, even though they don't want to have the other connection of, let's say, religion or something like that, because there's issues even there with organized religion nowadays. But the fact is, we need some sort of connection and some sort of empathy, because if you watch the news all day, you're not going to feel connection to human beings. You're going to feel divided from them.
Yeah.
And that's just facts, And this movie is also that, right? They also talk about, the little bit of news that the news gives you all the information of, like, the story itself with, like, the plot nonsense of the catalytic converter and all that. And even then, they're kind of lying because they're being fed the ideas of whatever, like, oh, the government's taking up a fight against the Detroit car companies. And not little do we know that, it's all a farce.
Yeah.
And it seems like that keeps happening and keeps happening and keeps happening. And that needs to stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to get off of this because you can tell, like, it feels so disheartening that you want to say that you're human beings and you go around and do this. You want to sell Warner Brothers because it's just going to make you look good when you get out of this job and go to a different corporation and run that corporation. Like, oh yeah, we did this at Warner Brothers, and we built up the business and then sold the business and then we moved on to the next business.
Well,
there's no heart
that's kind of
about what we're doing.
That's kind of the problem with studios in general. I feel like they enjoy the business of movies, not the movies themselves, and that's kind of the biggest gripe that I have with people that are going into those positions. I feel like the prerequisite for anyone who is going into one of those positions should be your love of the art form, not the love of the business of the art form.
And it's not like those people don't exist.
It's just they're not being put in the right places, and that's the problem.
Because like Sinners came out this year, right?
Yeah.
And one of the key pieces of Sinners is the fact that they shot on large format, meaning they did 70 mil, and then they did 5 perf IMAX film.
Yeah.
And that only happened because one of the guys at Warner Brothers was like, hey, did y'all consider large format?
Yeah.
Because they know that they've worked with Nolan and Nolan's gone from them, but they can still try to push this. And Ryan wanted to do 16 mil, and he even bought a camera and all this stuff, and he wanted to do that. But they're like, wait, large format. And it's like, wait, hold on. Can we do this, this narrow, long, wide aspect ratio with the IMAX? And, Nolan's already obviously done this, but like, can we do this for this movie, for the story? And they did it. And obviously it came out well. And it's something where this entire year, Warner Brothers has pretty much had a flawless victory, as they say in Mortal Kombat, right?
Yeah.
Like no misses from everything from one battle after another to Final Destination to weapons. They've had hit after hit after hit, and that's why they're trying to sell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. They want to be like, oh, we did all this good stuff.
Yep.
Now can you here money, please?
Yeah.
As he does in the movie, the thing with the hand. He's like, here's the money. So it all rounds back, and I would hope that we got to make money, but we also got to have heart to like keep making movies.
Yeah.
Because yes, this is an art, and the money is inseparable. You need the money to do this. This is how this always has worked. And you can do it without the money too. And there's a whole thing about that. But fundamentally, there has to be a line.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like at this time, it's only gonna get worse. That's the sad thing, is that people will follow the money rather than follow their hearts. And to get into this movie finally, I usually, the fact is that both of the characters that we come to Jackson and we come to Holland, both in this movie. These are slimy human beings with good hearts.
Yep.
Fundamentally good hearts. These are good guys that are down on their luck. They're apathetic. And that's the good place to find broken. Perfect word. You want to find these people broken. And then by the end of the movie, they have purpose, right?
Yeah.
There's a journey that they go through. They have a good time through it. We have a great time watching them go through this stuff, right? And that's why we love movies. We want to root for guys like this. We don't want, Tony Stark is the one that is like this. He's the only one like this. And that's why Iron Man 3 is literally a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, obviously Shane directed Iron Man 3.
Oh, yeah.
He was trying to get The Nice Guys made for 13 years, roughly.
Jesus.
Never happened. Never could get it off the ground, right? Like I said, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang pretty much bombed.
Yeah.
And after that movie made like $800-900 million. And even then he had meddling from the studio, from Marvel. They had a man there who was like, oh, your villain can't be a woman. How are you going to make your villain a woman? So they had to change it to Guy Pearce. And Guy Pearce is good in that movie. But if Rebecca Hall had actually stayed the villain of the movie, it would have been even better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like a whole other situation I don't want to dive into. But it is a fact that did happen.
Yeah.
And that's why Black Widow didn't have a movie for the longest time. But that's where, coming off that high, Joel Silver asked Shane Black, like, what do you want to do after this? He's like, I want to do The Nice Guys. And within 3 days, they sent the script to Ryan Gosling, Russell Crowe. Within 3 days. This is almost unheard of in Hollywood.
Yeah.
The movie was greenlit, good to go. Because both of them read the script. They said yes, and it's good to go. Right? And you can look all the way 9 years later. we're still talking about the movie because it is that good. It does not take, you know, it doesn't take anybody to like with an ounce to know that this is something great to do. We should make this movie. And finally, it was just the fact that, he had the hype within the business again to make something.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to make an Iron Man. At times, you have to make an Iron Man to make a Nice Guys.
Yeah.
And obviously, we will never do Iron Man 3 on this pod ever. Ever.
Put the kibosh on that.
We would rather talk about this movie twice over, or do a Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, or a Lethal Weapon, or Last Boy Scout, anything that Shane has written otherwise.
Yeah.
Long Kiss Goodbye, because there's something about his voice. How many of his movies have you seen when it comes to Shane?
I would have to look at the list of movies that he's done to kind of remind myself of everything that he's done, because I don't know off the top. I'm very bad when it comes to my memory. My memory is, shot, I think is the best way to put it. Here, let me look and see. I mean, Predator, obviously. Nice Guys, obviously.
Predator,
obviously.
Predator 2018. I would never recommend anybody watch that.
Didn't say it was good. I just said I've seen it.
The
Iron Man 3.
The studio meddling with that movie was bad. They reshot I think the last third of that movie, and they even couldn't figure out what to do with the stinger for the movie because they couldn't figure out what to do with the Predator franchise. And obviously, since then, Dan Trachtenberg has created, Prey, Predator, Badlands, and an animated Predator movie within the last few years. And he's done a great job of reviving the franchise because he's been given a voice within it, but they didn't give Shane a voice. And I think they learned a lesson of like if you stifle the creatives, then you're going to have a big issue. And they didn't stifle Dan in any way. So it's interesting to see.
The only ones that I haven't seen are Edge and Play Dirty, which we were talking about Play Dirty before we started this.
Yeah. But the main thing is more so than his directing ones, he has a lot of written movies.
A ton of written stuff that I saw on the list. And
yeah,
I haven't watched all of them. He's got a lot of the ones that we mentioned before, like AWOL, I've seen that. Lethal Weapon 4, I've seen that.
Or technically, you could start with the first Lethal Weapon. There's 4 of them.
Yeah, Monster Squad.
I think they all have redeeming qualities, but that first one, second one, are the best.
I didn't know he wrote the Monster Squad. That kind of makes sense now that I think about it. Yeah, I actually love the Monster Squad hot take because I know not a lot of people like that movie, but I love it.
Called classic.
Yeah,
called classic. Long Kiss Goodbye. He wrote that. I think it's a great movie. The Last Boy Scout.
Yeah,
Bruce Willis, Wayne's brother. Great work. It's so much fun. Halle Berry's even in that.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of juice of, like I said, making adult movies that are adult fun, and these movies they deserve to exist.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be fighting for their existence. And this is prime buddy cop movie. That's what he does. That's his thing. That's just shtick in a sense. And he's great at doing it. And I mean, throw it to Rush Hour. He didn't do Rush Hour, but I love Rush Hour. Everything else, like Lethal Weapon, whatever, main actor aside, I was talking about it on Hot Fuzz too. That's one of the blueprints of American cinema when it comes to buddy movies. And we severely need more buddy movies.
We really do.
There's something about having two people who don't get along work together and them, coming to some sort of catharsis by the end of the movie with that and then within themselves. And you can apply that to pretty much anybody, right? Because movies are supposed to be opposition, there needs to be some sort of antagonism. And if you put that into two main characters, it is always fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes, a lot of the times it doesn't work, but it's you just need to be good at what you do. You watch Stuber with Dave Bautista, Kumail Nanjiani?
No, I haven't yet. I need to.
It's it's one of those movies where it's this could have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it's I see what y'all are going for. I enjoyed it, but it's the same sort of we're trying to do this energy.
Yeah, they came out last year? This year? Last year?
Or
year before?
It's been 5 years or something.
Has it really been 5 years? Damn, dude.
It's been a minute, brother.
Jesus.
Maybe 3-4 years, but it's definitely been a minute. But I definitely always gravitate towards these movies, just hoping that somebody does a good one.
Well, they're fun.
And
these are movies they're fun, and a lot of times you just got to find a movie that you can turn on and just enjoy. You don't have to have this weird existential conversation about a movie. Now, granted, there's easily
even
an
though
existential
this
conversation
movie Loki has
with
one.
this one. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
there is a conversation to be had with this movie, obviously. But sometimes you just need a little bit of turn your brain off and have a good time. And this movie does a good job of skirting both of those sides. Like, you have that turn your brain off and have a good time, but you also have that, oh shit, there's a deeper meaning here.
Yeah. And I mean it in the sense that, like, I say adult cinema in the sense that, like, you can watch a Terminator 2 and get something out of it.
Yeah.
James Cameron makes big movies, but they're intimate movies about human beings. You know, I get as much, I might get more from Terminator 2 than I get from an Anora, even though both are just
Fair.
as good.
Yeah.
If I think, even though I will probably put on, you know, I will put on Terminator 2 99% of
Oh,
the
yeah.
time. But yeah, I love these sorts of movies. I think you will see these movies come and go, but I think they need to stay permanently, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's just a great format. And you could argue that it is turn your brain off sort of stuff, but I'd argue that that's some of the best work that you need to have,
Yeah.
right? That one of my favorite movies is Collateral,
Mhm.
and that's Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx in a car over one night. It is intense. It is not a buddy movie per se, but it is a buddy movie in the same. I literally was like whatever saying that you need two opposing forces, and that movie is exactly that.
Yeah.
And it's even more serious, and it gives you something as an audience. You feel such a conundrum between the two and such a argument of like different ways of living, just having a car crash together literally, and it's a great time.
Mhm.
So I will this is definitely something where I'm like, "Oh, this is my, this is my bread and butter." I will always look to this and, try to do this myself, cuz it's just fun, right? And like I told you, if you have like good talent behind it or like in front of the camera,
Yeah.
that matters.
Mhm.
Real quick before we get into Action of the Juice,
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy just had a doc come out about him, and he's been, doing press. Eddie Murphy was like Rush Hour. He was supposed to be in the Jackie Chan role, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah, I'd heard that.
It wouldn't have worked
No, it wouldn't have at all.
because there's no opposition there, right? And we will have the Rush Hour conversation on this pod at some point. But like that movie, the East versus West culture, Eastern culture of like the Chinese versus like the real American culture clashing between, Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan is the most compelling version of like, we need to do this. We need to have buddy movies because it is hilarious. The action is great
Mm.
because of Jackie Chan, and you feel like there's a reason why people want a Rush Hour 4. And Agent Orange wants a Rush Hour 4, but it's never gonna happen. I thought it was gonna happen when I was, back when The Nice Guys probably came out.
Yeah.
And
There's
I
been
think that's
rumblings for
around
a
the
while.
time where we realized who Brett Ratner was. He's a terrible human being. And I was like, oh, I'm going to let this dream go. Jackie's too old either way. Epstein Island things are coming out. I'm like, I'm not worried about this anymore. I see what I love from these things, and then you just kind of leave it as it is,
Yeah.
And you can't shy away from those conversations. You can't just be like, oh, like Chris Tucker doesn't have anything wrong with him. You know about that? It was like I have friends who used to play basketball with this man, in Atlanta,
Yeah.
back in the 90s, like
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But all that being said, buddy movies, The Nice Guys, we've gone off the rails this morning.
That's all
But
good.
Action is the juice. We're off rails, but we're on the rails.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll get to the juice. Action is the juice, the most juice scenes of this movie. What is the action of the juice for The Nice Guys for you?
Oh, okay. So, God, there's so many like great scenes in this movie, and I think the one that I always
Too many.
Yeah, there's too many. The one that I always think about, and it's not even really like actiony or like kind of crazy. But
So put it this way, real quick. If anybody's listening to this, when I say action is the juice, I never mean just the action,
Yeah, yeah.
just the fighting, I mean action is the juice in the sense I always bring it to Die Hard.
Mhm.
I thought it was gonna be, a fight or something like that. The action of that movie is it's them having an argument before all the action starts.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand that This movie is about a husband going across the country to reconcile with his wife to, essentially have a good Christmas, but have a good life together. That's the story. You're rooting for that to happen. You're not worried about, like, he just has to get through a bunch of, like, hostage takers to get to that point.
Yeah.
But that's why we root for him. That means that's the juice.
Yeah.
You have all the other juice in there for sure, but it's like you need to be invested in these characters. What is the thing that, like, emotionally is bringing you? What's the juice in terms of that? So
So
all movie juice
yeah.
is the juice,
So this may sound weird, but the scene where they're at the party and
the bowling alley, yeah.
no, not even that. I wasn't gonna
No,
say
not
that.
okay. So the big party.
The big party. So whenever they're at
Yeah.
the big party and they're going to go get information, whenever Ryan Gosling's character falls off the balcony and then rolls down the hill and then ends up at the tree, you get a lot of different little pieces about the characters, about the movie itself, about the story, all in that one sequence. And the coolest thing you get from that is, like, once he, like, hits the tree and then he starts smoking the cigarette and then you see that light come up and the dead body next to him. And then he
The best part is
realizes
that, right?
Yeah.
When he lights the match and then you see him,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
But here's the thing. That's when you find out that not only the audience finds out, but also the characters involved in the movie and involved in the story find out that there's a bit more going on than they initially thought. So that's when
Yeah.
it goes, okay, maybe we should start looking into things a little bit differently than we were initially and approach this in a different way. And that was the exact moment that they were like, there's a lot more going on than we thought. And that's when
Yeah.
it really starts to pick up.
But that it is the
But it's a
juice, you're
very
right. That is
small-
like most. Yeah.
It's a very small thing. It's not big. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be crazy. But that's the good thing
Smart.
about good writing. It doesn't
Is
have to
he
be
s-
crazy.
He's drunk
Yeah.
and he's smoking.
He's like,
He's sad. You see, the acting people they need to understand. I have goosebumps thinking about this because I mean this in the most genuine way possible. That Ryan Gosling is one of the greatest actors we have. He's one of the funniest actors we have. People do not give this man enough credit.
you don't
know,
utilize
they-
it enough either.
As y'all see him as like a hunky sort of dude, but then when he goes to make his movies, when he made a Lynchian sort of movie, I'm like misplacing the name. I think it's The Lost Queen or something.
Okay.
I thought it was a compelling thing. There's a funny photo of Guillermo del Toro and Ryan at Disneyland riding like the Cars ride or something, because like he was actually talking to directors trying to make a good movie, and I think he did make one, and people just didn't give it enough credit. But back to this, when he's sitting there at the tree, he doesn't need dialogue. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
he's just like sitting there having a spaz attack about this body.
Yeah.
I don't think you realized. I had to look it up just to confirm because I remember it from 9 years ago. You know who the body was, right?
No.
The body that they
Like
find
who
of
was
Sid
actually-
Shattuck.
Yeah. It's Sid Shattuck. Who plays him?
And then they pick up the funniest part that and then he also sees Amelia, right? And
Yeah,
he doesn't
yeah.
realize that it's Amelia.
Yeah.
So like you said, there's so many little things happening. You were connecting it, but he's not connecting it.
Yeah.
And it's awesome in that sense. And then
He's still
both of them are like,
discombobulated.
yo, let's bomb it real quick, and then let's dump this body.
Yeah.
And then they dump the body on a part.
Yeah. Because they had no idea what was on the other side. They were just like, we just need to get rid of this thing.
Sid Shattuck is played by Robert Downey Jr. I'm not lying. I'm dead serious.
What?
Yes. Can't tell because half of his face is
Yeah.
blown off,
What?
but it's literally
Oh, it's
Robert Downey Jr.
as
So
I'm
have
looking
you
at the
seen,
IMDb. Right?
Have you seen Chef?
No, I haven't seen Chef. I need to watch Chef.
Chef is one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies, 2014. If you're listening, go watch Chef. Instantly rewatchable movie. Just about, a life in the love of food and things like that. But Robert Downey Jr. has a great cameo in that also. That movie has a stacked cast because of Jon Favreau, and obviously Shane knows Robert. And Robert even produced, Robert and his wife Susan Downey, they both produced Dirty actually recently.
Yeah.
For anybody, if you're not going to see it on the IMDb because it's an uncredited
Yeah, because I was looking
cameo.
for it. I was like,
Yeah.
I was looking.
Because people don't know, and I think it's hilarious. Not hilarious. I think it's hilarious, the scene itself, but it's awesome that the fact that he came and, he was there for a couple days or whatever it might have been
Yeah.
to play the body.
That's so
And then
funny.
obviously he gets dumped, but yeah, he's in the movie. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of Shane's movies, they kind of something happens to the main character always,
Yeah.
and him in like I think he loses a finger in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, right? And in this, my juice part is like before this, it's the scene where Jackson and Holland meet, but right before that, he's looking for Amelia. And the funniest part, this man takes a handkerchief
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, let me break this window," and I'm like, "Don't do that, brother."
No.
He breaks the window, and then you see all the blood coming out.
He's like, oh shit. It just
And, but see, the thing is, why is it so funny? It's the performance that Ryan gives. He is so physical with his work that, like, he's looking around. He knows his comedy so well that he's looking around, and then the way that he like holds his hand up instead of like going straight, he kind of holds it up in a weird position.
Yeah.
And every little bit of comedy within that, and then the blood starts spurting out and all that, right? And I was just like, it makes me laugh every time. And obviously, for the movie, he's in the little cast because of that. And that's such a Shane Black thing, but it's also such a funny thing to like have your main character kind of stunted.
And
And
I think the best thing about the way he plays it is it's all played straight. And
oh yeah,
everything is played
oh
straight,
yeah,
and that was obviously the intention. And if it wasn't played straight, I don't think we'd be talking about it even to this day, about this movie even to this day.
yeah. But the great comedy really is the fact that you need it straight.
Yeah.
My favorite story of Judd Apatow is when they made 40-Year-Old Virgin, that they were seeing the dailies of Steve Carell just doing menial things, just living his life.
Yep.
And it looks like depressing drama, right? They're like, how is this a comedy? What is this? But it's like you have to sell that in order to sell the rest of the comedy of the movie, right?
Yep.
And in this, and just in general, when it comes to acting, when you're trying to be funny, the acting isn't funny.
Mm.
You have to be serious for the acting to be funny.
Yeah.
And, throw it to, the GOAT, Robin Williams, right? The man is hilarious. He's throwing those pitches 1,000 miles per hour. Everyone else is throwing 100. He's throwing 1,000. He is that powerful with the work he does, the energy he puts on screen. It is rare that we see it anymore. But you have people like Ryan who randomly come out and they're pitching 1,000, and you're like, whoa, like, this is amazing. How do you, like, I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know he could do this before this movie, because this is the same, or no, I didn't know he could do this because I saw The Big Short the year before this. So like, it's his peak, era of work, because I was like, oh, he's hilarious. He's awesome in that. He's going to be awesome in this. Shane Black is making this. I love Russell Crowe, Gladiator. Margaret Qualley's in this. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And it was awesome. And the rest of the juice for me is obviously Jackson and Holland meet because Amelia gives him like the note and tells him to go, like, tell this guy to not like look for me, because she doesn't realize these guys are actually kind of trying to help her. But
Yeah.
the funny part is, like, we get to the house. He gets inside the house and he gets him against the wall. All the comedy is happening of like, these are, this is PI versus P. This is like the muscle versus the PI, right? The opposing forces of this movie come together, and he's like, do you get the message? Stop looking for Amelia. Stop looking for Amelia. He's like, okay. And then he goes for the cookie jar gun.
Yeah.
I actually had the same jars at my house.
Oh, really?
There's like three sizes to them. I used to have them before one of them broke. But yeah, it's hilarious. But yeah, he pulls out the thing. He's crawling away. The physical acting of like Ryan crawling away and him ultimately getting his wrist broken, and the sounds that he's making, and it's an amazing performance from Ryan. And people are like, oh, Barbie, Ken, yes, sure, I love Ken, obviously, but this is the juice.
Yeah.
This is it. And then that scene is fantastic. But like when he goes outside and his daughter shows up, and then she's like, you want a yoo-hoo? Are you my best friend? Like, oh yeah, I am. He's like, oh, you want a yoo-hoo? And then he like throws the apple just in the grass, and he takes a yoo-hoo from her, which is funny because, obviously he goes and picks up a case of yoo-hoo after, he gets one from her.
And a little bit of a shout out to the editor too, by the way, because a lot of
Yeah.
these things would not work in the way that they do, as far as like
Yeah.
the jokes and the perfectly cut scream on him breaking his wrist is
Yeah.
what sells it the entire time. If it lingered for even a second longer, I don't think that it would have been as funny. But because they cut it off when they do, it makes it great.
And the thing is, when it comes to comedy, you really need input when it comes to that. And people talk about test screenings all the time, but you need test screenings for comedies. I assume they tested this,
Oh,
and
I'm
I'm sure
sure.
it tested well. He's just like, you need to know that these things land. Comedy lands. You need someone to tell you, like, oh yeah, the jokes are working. Because I mean, you could hope that they work, but sometimes they might not work. You might need to, little trim something, add something, something like that. Because it's when it comes to comedy, comedy is subjective. But when it comes to physical comedy, you need the sound, you need the joke of like the situation, but you also need the sound of it and the acting, the physicality. So it's like there's a lot of work that goes into making comedy that doesn't get enough credit. I was talking about it with horror movies, right? You need a lot of juice to make a horror movie. You need a lot of juice to make comedy movies too. They don't want to. They see it takes less work to make a drama, unless you're like Park Chan Wook. But besides, like for the most part in America, when they make in a, like eat like Western cinema, when they make dramas, is not as hard as making an action movie, a comedy movie, a horror movie, a heist movie. Those movies are always harder to make.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of love for the genres because of that. Those movies, and on top of that, they're a lot more fun. God forbid we have a good time with a movie.
I know.
I can watch your, I see. I'm not dunking on this because I love Chloe Zhao, but it's like Hamnet is not the only thing you need to have. You need to have everything.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Hamnet yet. It's probably gonna break into 20,000 different pieces. I did see Rental Family though. Rental Family is technically a drama, one of my
May
favorite
do that
genres.
today.
Period. So I love those sorts of movies, but you also need the movies where you have the comedy and things like that. Even though I think Rental Family does have a bit of comedy in there and such a heartfelt story. So yeah, give more love to movies like this because we need genre movies. Genre movies are the ones that I think people watch more than dramas. And you can have a great drama, but a great drama versus like a Terminator 2, a Nice Guys, I'll take that instead. That's just,
Yeah.
you know, that's why, that's cinema to me. That's film, that's movies. That's what I'm always watching. You know this.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take Big Heat. A Big Heat that's a genre movie, okay? Compared to today, that's a genre movie.
Yep.
People don't want to give like that's the juice. I want the romance, I want the love, I want the horror, I want the comedy, I want this, man. I will say, my other juice, my little juice, when they're at the bowling alley, when he confronts him in the toilet,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, the toilet acting. I want someone to take this out of context. The Ryan Gosling toilet acting has never been touched. It will never be touched
Oh.
because the fact of like he's sitting there smoking a cigarette, reading a newspaper, and then he pulls out the gun and he's got his pants down, and then he has the door, and he's trying to open the door. He can't get the door open. He's got the gun, and he's like, turn around. He's like, I can still see you in the mirror, right? And it's like that's the level of like, add all the details, all the nonsense of like detail on conflict that gets you a rise out of your audience when it comes to comedy.
Yeah.
And that is literally maybe a minute, but that 1 minute is funnier than majority of comedy movies, to be honest.
And it's shared
So-
all the time. Like, if you look at film Twitter, it's everywhere on film Twitter. You'll see it, like, at least every couple months. It'll pop
And
up again.
that the funny thing really is, it is the performance, it is the situation,
It's
right?
the timing.
Because it's the timing, yes.
It's everything.
Because he pulls the gun out and he's trying to do everything, like trying to keep the door open, and then he drops the cigarette out of his mouth, and then he's trying to worry about that. It is like the situation is elevating, it's rising up. And it's an interesting thing to look at comedy, look at any genre, look at any scene in general, to be like, how does this work? How do they get this done? And it does start with the writing, but it definitely ends up on the shoulders of like a Ryan He'll be like, Russell has to be serious in this, but like you need to do your part of like being all crazy and stuff. And Ryan, he has no ego when it comes to that.
Yeah.
He's always supporting the story, no matter what movie he's in. So big ups to Ryan. And I I think, yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite actors, That's the sort of person you want to work with one day.
100%. That was
But
the one
that
thing I was thinking about whenever I was watching this movie, is that I was like, if I do end up in the industry and I do end up working and doing movies and stuff, like he is one of those people that I'm like, I really want to work with because I would love to work
'cause
with
I'm
him.
sure I know for a fact it'll be a fun day,
Oh
fun
yeah.
time, whatever it is,
Oh
because
yeah.
he understands good work, and I think he rarely ever missteps with his work. I've been a fan since even before Remember the Titans. There's a movie called Murdered by Numbers with him and I'm forgetting his name, Sandra Bullock, where he's playing essentially two kids who are like they're rich, or one of them is rich, one of them's not, but like they're murdering people, and Sandra Bullock's like chasing after them. It's like it's supposed to be like a bit of a cat and mouse thing, and the movie's not great, but like you could just tell the talent on screen, between Sandra and the two guys. So yeah, definitely been a long time. Not since Mickey Mouse, but I've been a
Yeah, Mickey
fan of
Mouse Club. Yeah.
been a fan of Brother for a long time.
Yeah.
Production value. You gotta let like the voice when I yell production value because it's Super 8, and he's a teenager. I want to make sure when I yell production value, it's kind of that voice.
Yeah.
Because you have to scream production value. What screams production value in
Mm.
this movie? Because there's so many aspects of great work, great artists at work in The Nice Guys. What screams production value in
Mm.
The Nice Guys for you?
Mm. Got me thinking at fucking 10 a.m. Okay. Ah, God. Okay. I'm gonna have you go first. That way I can jog
Oh, I got you.
something in me.
See, the production value of this movie truly is the fact that this feels undeniably like the 70s.
Yeah,
I've never lived in the 70s,
but you don't
but
have
I
to.
think the 70s, 80s is an era that I love in the sense like the old heads are always like, "Oh, they didn't used to do it like it's not like it used to be." And I
Yeah.
mean in the sense of movies, the sense of like music. My favorite music is like I was listening to I was listening to AM from Monkeys, like
Mhm.
one of my favorite albums, right? Obviously, it always comes on in the shuffle, but I was thinking about it. I was like, this is the mix of like that sort of 70s music. I was watching 3 Days of the Condor, like 70s, 80s music. Like this is the music that really affects me when it comes to even Bollywood cinema. It's the same music to me. And that means the 70s aspects to this movie are like undeniably great. I don't know if you know this, Drake,
Mhm.
but beside like I'll like there's one scene where they're driving through LA and they like or there's a few scenes of them driving through LA that itself, but like they have scenes where they're showing like, it might not be Hollywood Boulevard, but like they've have like, posters and like, oh yeah, like Sid Shattuck, like, oh, like you're seeing like iconic places in LA. But besides that, like they shot plates at like, different like location exterior stuff. But besides that, this movie was made in Atlanta.
Oh shit.
This movie is an Atlanta production.
That's
And
really
they
cool.
had like I think the Atlanta Hilton is what they have at the end for the
Ah, okay,
action.
okay, okay.
So
That would
it's like
make sense
Richard
actually.
Bridgeland, the production designer, definitely had a big job to like how do you double Atlanta because we have to shoot in Georgia for tax credits. Like how
Yeah.
do you make this into LA? And I think the only movie besides this where we've seen this era of LA again in a great way is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Mhm.
And I think both movies do a great job of bringing that era alive. And this is a movie that is it's not shot on film, but it feels like the 70s. It feels effortlessly like the 70s, whether it's the cars, whether it's Like, talk about like the production value of the opening where the car literally goes through the house.
Yeah.
I was like, y'all, did y'all make the house for this?
I
I
think
was like, that was awesome.
I think one of the cool things about this movie is that if you were to remove if you didn't tell anyone when this came out and you
True.
gave it to them and you say, "Hey, just go ahead and watch this movie." And then you were to look at them and go, "Hey, when do you think this came out?" They wouldn't I don't think anyone would really be able to pinpoint when it came out for a multitude of reasons. One, because it is timeless, but two, because of how well done it is. Like you'll never really there's no like decade sync to it. There's no like, oh, this is obviously made in the 2010s or this is obviously made in
My dec
2020s.
my decade sync would be the 2000s in a good way.
Yeah,
Meaning, like, there's a lot of movies. I think Zach even brought up the point where when he watched Heat for the first time, he's like, "This feels like a 2000s movie. This feels like like a modern movie. It feels like a movie you grew up with in a good way,
yeah,
you know." And like you said, if you didn't know who these people were, you didn't know who Russell or Ryan or Angourie were, you could just say that this movie really feels like it just was from the 70s. The All of the acting, the people that they cast in the movies, they feel of era. The costuming is of the era, the music, the house that they are at. The party scene is the perfect example
oh
of the
yeah,
production value of this movie. That it feels inherently from the 70s when you walk in and he finds the canister of film and that room that's like red and
yeah.
it's
The big room.
velvet. I'm like,
Yeah.
it is so 70s. And they even found, I think that house was, there was a designer from LA. His like a musician, his house in Atlanta is designed after an LA house.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like they had an LA house there because someone took inspiration, right?
That's cool.
I think it's Paul Lautner, John Lautner.
Okay.
Uh Actually, I think what's her name? Dua Lipa like drops his name in like Future Nostalgia, but that's all of the conversation. John Lautner, yeah, I think that's the name. But I'm talking about even from the beginning, the logo. The logo for the Warner Brothers that comes up.
Yeah,
That's
I
not like
love
a
it.
Warner Brothers. It's not a Warner Brothers logo of like the studio itself, like a film studio,
Yeah,
but it's like Warner Communication or something.
yeah.
And the legend Saul Bass made that. I just want people to know that was Saul Bass's Warner Brothers logo, and that's the love of this movie. It really is that, like, for the fact of all the production value. I do want to say the costumes in this movie are impeccable
They're perfect.
because there's no, like, some people when they do 70s work, like Dolomite is My Name does a pretty good job too, where it's
Yes.
like you want to have like period costumes, but you don't want them to feel like costumes per se.
Yeah.
Like Angry feels like Holly feels like she's a character, like a kid from the 70s. There's no if and or but about that. She doesn't feel like she's out of era, or like she's wearing too many clothes, or like there's too much design going on.
Yeah.
Like Jackson Healy feels blue.
Mhm.
He's got the jeans. It works. Holland, same thing, right? He kind of goes through different looks, but like, the way that the suits that he has, they're of era, the things that he's wearing, it's just so much great work. The most like weird thing in the movie is probably like the tattoo that he has around his fingers.
Yeah, yeah,
That's like
yeah.
the most modern thing in the movie. Besides that, everything else feels inherently from the 70s in a great way.
Well, the
Even the camera movements are pretty 70s. They made sure to keep that period.
and the cool thing is that, like, I know what a lot of people don't, I guess, think about is, like, if it weren't for those subtle little nuances, it may take you out of the film entirely. But
100%.
because it is all so cohesive, you don't really like, nothing sticks out in a bad way. Like, it all sticks out in, "Hey, this is a great movie," but there's nothing that you, like, pinpoint and focus on and being like, "That kinda bothered me."
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
all
that's the
based
thing.
on the
If
production value of this movie.
you could easily have been 270s, and you can be like, oh, like this feels so 70s to the point where it's like you're giving the era too much love in a
Yeah.
sense. Because when you make a period movie, the character, like the setting is a character, right? I think in any movie a setting is a character, but even more so in a period movie because it matters, right? Like you could put this side by side with the Lethal Weapon and it makes sense,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Even though that's 80s, this is 70, like 85, and this is like 77, I think, if I remember right. but it still feels, like contemporary work in a good way.
Yeah, you could put this next to like Serpico or something like that, and it works.
But, yeah, even though
Like,
I love Serpico, man.
but you could put it next to
That's
something
Sidney
like that,
Lumet.
and
Yeah,
and it like it doesn't feel like it sticks out. It feels like it's right there.
and that's the thing. It's not supposed to stick out.
Yeah,
If it stuck out, it'd be an issue.
yeah,
And that's a lot of great filmmaking, is that it feels effortless. If it feels like like, if you, and that's the thing about like doing continuous shots and things like that, you're making a point of this, of like, taking you like whatever this long 10-minute take, whatever, you're bringing attention to that. And have like the majority of your job as a filmmaker is to not bring attention to the camera work. The camera work is supposed to support the story,
mhm,
right? And throw it like Roger Deakins is like, y'all don't need to be like focusing on my work.
yeah,
I don't do my work to make it flashy. And that's like, cinematography is not supposed to be flashy. It's supposed to be plot relevant, story, character, emotion relevant. And Deakins is kind of the genius that does both. He has great work and it supports the story perfectly, as he always does,
yeah.
So
And one of my biggest gripes, I think, of this year, as far as people trying to do that, at least in a new movie, trying to flex more of cinematography more than story, was Hurry Up Tomorrow. Because there was no story there, but they obviously were like, "We gotta do something with this, so we're gonna, like, throw in some, like, flashy shit with the camera work and stuff just to make it seem like we actually did something on set." Like,
Have you seen It Comes at Night?
no, I haven't.
So It Comes at Night was marketed as a horror movie, but it's more of like a cerebral not thriller, but like thrilling to me.
Yeah,
Good movie. Directed by the same guy, Trey Schultz. He also made Waves. He made a movie called Cretia. Great director.
yeah.
But he aligned himself with, with Abel. And Abel, that's supposed to be like a star. I've always seen clips, and I'm like,
Brother,
I'm a star.
it was the
Like, do
biggest
you not
ego
understand? I
stroke.
have to go rehearse or what? I'm like, this is too much for me. I don't know what this is.
And
You
then
know?
Jenna Ortega's character looking at him being like, "See, Abel, your music is deeper than you initially let on. It is
That's the
deeper."
problem.
It's like, "Brother,
See,
come
the fact that
on."
your character says that, that's the problem. Your character has to feel that. How do you? Where's the subtext of
It
like
was the biggest
feeling that?
ego stroke I've ever seen in my entire life.
Exactly. That's the problem, right? You can have a movie that's an ego stroke, but it is also a good movie. But that was not
But no,
that.
it
That
wa
was
it was
something else.
obvious it was an ego stroke because it was like, he's
Yeah.
talking about himself in his actual name. He's using Abel Tesfaye, his actual name. He's using the same name of the album that he released last year, the year prior, as the name for the film. Like, it was anyways,
I think he has good work. Like when it comes to the music, when it comes to the music videos, things like that. Like the director who made the first Nobody movie, actually he made the, I'm forgetting the name of the movie. It's like the GoPro movie of like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like in
the Hardcore Henry.
Hardcore Henry. He
Yeah, yeah,
directed
yeah.
that. So he directed the music video for False Alarm.
Yeah,
I think it's a great video,
yeah,
but that's the thing. He can align himself and he does have good references. Obviously, the Blinding Lights is a whole reference. Like that whole look is a reference, a whole rip of Casino, of like
mhm,
Martin Scorsese's Casino, in a good way.
yeah,
It works. And a lot of like homages to like Las Vegas movies, Fear and Loathing, and a bunch of stuff. It works. But when it comes to vanity, when it comes to ego, like that's not, there's no story there,
yeah.
and other people, they have worthy stories. You had that Scott Cooper's the movie for what's his name, Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen, the
Right, right,
man.
right, right, right.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
like that came out this year.
It was
It
decent.
doesn't interest me, so I'm not watching it. But
Yeah,
good for them. And I mean, I don't mean it in a bad way. No diss to Bruce Springsteen. It's just I don't watch a lot. I didn't even watch the Bob Dylan one from last year.
yeah,
You know, I love Timmy. I love James Mangold. I still have not seen that movie. I haven't seen A Complete Unknown.
yeah.
I have the movie, still haven't seen it. I'm I'm liable to turn on The Nice Guys again.
Yeah, honestly.
I'm liable to turn on Hot Fuzz. I'm liable to turn on The Big Heat. I'm liable to put something else on. That's all.
I watched Zootopia, bro. You lucky we ain't doing a
I
Zootopia
know,
episode
I
right
know.
now.
I'm
I,
thinking about going to go see it next week.
Oh, I'm seeing it tomorrow. I'm seeing it at 10 a.m. when there's no kids there. I like
Good call.
the new movie's coming out, but the not in because it's weird, as a lone man to go see a movie,
Nah,
and
man, what you
there's
talking
nothing.
about?
I'm not doing something wrong
What
or
you talking
something, but it's
about?
just
I went and
it's just
saw
like
Toy
it's
Story
weird.
30th anniversary edition by myself. What you talking about?
But there's probably a lot of adults in there because of that
No,
movie. But
it was me and a bunch of kids. It was
oh,
weird.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
When we saw Incredibles 2, I was like, oh, it's gonna be a bunch of kids. It's gonna be like 8 adults and a bunch of kids. Nope, it was all adults. No kids in sight during Incredibles 2. But Zootopia legitimately it's one of the best movies.
So good.
That's the movie where I'm like, I don't need a Frozen in my house. I need a Zootopia. I will watch this for 300 times with my kids
Yeah.
because the movie is fun. It has something to say, and you have a good time with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I just described is exactly this movie.
Yeah,
Also, I
100%.
love because I want movies have to. I love movies have to be escapism to some extent. You want to have a message there, and you want to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the triumvirate of the three things you need in a good movie.
And you get
And
exactly that in this movie.
And that being said, the dialogues in this movie, what Shane Black is great at doing his entire career is dialogue. Legitimately, the way that he writes, we talk about Tarantino, we talk about Sorkin, the scripts that they have on the same level, in my opinion, is a Shane Black, where it's like you feel the voice of the writer there and you're watching the movie because of that,
Mhm.
right? And people will be like, "Oh, well, all of Aaron Sorkin's dialogues is all like 100 miles per hour, and it's why is it always the same?" It's like this is why we are there,
Yeah.
It's like saying that Denzel is acting like Denzel. It's like we're here for Denzel. Like what do you expect from us, right? So the dialogue in this movie, what affected you? What do you love about the dialogue in this one?
That was
Because I'm telling you,
honestly,
I
that was
love the
perfect.
dialogue in this movie.
Yeah, like, nothing felt out of place. It felt like all of the people that were in the movie, like, the writing felt perfect for the characters that they were, writing for. Like, Russell
The
Crowe's
writing,
character had the type
yeah.
of dialogue that you would expect him to have. Same with Ryan Gosling's character. Same with the Blueface guy who played by Bo Knapp. He had perfect
I
dialogue
just
for
call
someone like him.
Blueface.
Yeah, well, that's what he's credited as, is Blueface.
Oh,
And, like, he had perfect, dialogue written for him. Same with Margaret Qualley's character, Amelia. She is someone that you would expect because she's one of those people that, is trying to, like, save the world and blah, 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 like, trying to, fight for something.
it's
And
like that hippy dippy
yeah,
vibe
right.
where
And
you
it's written
like
as a teenager in the like, I never grew up in the '70s. I know I'm a product of the '90s, but I can tell you that from movies that I've seen in the past from the '70s, it feels like all of these people have the perfect dialogue for their characters for that specific time period in those situations. Like, everything feels like all the puzzle pieces come together and fit perfectly.
and on top of that, it feels like movie dialogue,
Yeah.
It's just classic
But not
movie
like trailer movie dialogue. There's a difference between, like, movie dialogue for the sake of
trailer
movie
but no,
dialogue.
but trailer movie dialogue is also but you also need throw it to Christopher McQuarrie, he always talks about it, you need those lines where it's like, "Mr. Bond, you're a kite flying in the wind," right?
Yeah, right.
Like, you need those, but then you also have the dialogue of hurry up tomorrow, of I love your music. Well,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah, yeah.
nonsense that.
But, like, what I mean by that is, like, the music or the dialogue is not written to the movie for the purpose of editing for a trailer, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I
it
understand what you
it
mean.
fits perfectly for the environment, for the people, for the situation at hand. It fits entirely as you need it to for the sake of telling the story in the way that it needs to be told. And
The only thing, like I told you, the only dialogue for me that I wrote down that doesn't necessarily feel of era, but I think it's great, is that Ryan has a tattoo. Like Holland has a tattoo. He looks at it at the beginning of the movie when he's sitting in the tub with his clothes on, which is hilarious.
yeah,
And the tattoo says that you will never be happy,
yeah.
right? And it ultimately at the beginning of the movie, the reason why we only see it at the beginning of the movie, we don't see it again, is the fact that you need to say who this character is right away.
Yeah.
I like yesterday when Drake was watching the movie, he sent me a photo, and then I literally typed back a piece of dialogue because it's been like a week since I've seen the movie, and it's literally
Like, the next line that
Jackie
was said.
Healy, Russell Crowe's character, says in a narration that marriage is buying a house for someone you don't love,
Yeah.
right? Which is a hilarious line
It's also
because
a bar.
obviously no, yeah, I know, right? Which is it's a bar, and like I don't agree with it, but it's funny. But it's like what it says is like it ultimately this is the character you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Right away, you need one line to tell you who this person is, right?
Mhm.
This is a person of a certain age who has become jaded and who is obviously has no luck, like he has like issues with the women in his life in a sense, right? And it's all how do you do that? Just literally by belief of like, oh, marriage is buying a house for a person you don't love,
Yeah.
and he probably lost his house in his divorce or what. But see, that's like you're adding so much detail beforehand with one line of dialogue, and I think that's why like dialogue. Like I love movies. Movies need to work without sound also, but you need dialogue like that also to give you breadth of like who this person is and where they've come from.
Yeah. A good movie, or at least the footprint of a good movie, is always in the writing. It's the writing
Yeah.
first, and then everything else just follows suit.
Because you can have a movie that has fine writing that you elevate into a good movie or a great movie. I think Sicario is always my example,
Yeah.
where you took a good script or like a pretty good script and then turned it into a great movie because you took out a lot of stuff and you added a lot of subtext to it. Or like Benicio was talking about it to the Deacons, that he's like, I would literally just like randomly give Josh Brolin some of my lines. Like I don't need to say it or he needs to say it. I don't need to say it. I know real Sicarios, real people from these parts who don't talk.
Yeah.
This is not what they're going to say in a movie. They're not going to be like, oh, I'm from this thing and I did this and this. Like people don't do that. And
Mm.
he was like, and that's you need to recognize that, right? And that's why whenever he says the line that marriage is buying a house for someone you don't love, it's in a narration because it's also a thing with noir movies that you do, but it's also the best way to bring you into the mind of a character because that's what the narration is, right?
Mhm.
That it's sad that Holland's narration is like, I wish I had something to look forward to, essentially, more or less, right? I wish I did something with my life. And you can tell where he is. It's so sad and dour, but like, we feel the melancholy of his situation and of Jackson's situation where they're just like trying to just push through life, essentially, right? And they have a very negative view on the world in the first place, which also goes with the noir movies, right?
Yeah.
It's like she's 13 and already she's got herself a winner. Sure, he's 3 times her age, but he's got money for pot and stuff, right? And it's like,
I'm
ew,
like,
because
"Oh."
it's like you literally a legitimate underage girl with like a 30-year-old, 35-year-old, and he's like, I'm the man or something, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm
It's
the man. And then he opens up the door for Jack. She's like, "Are you the man?" And he like literally it's hilarious. He's a great thing about dialogue is that you also want to set it up and pay it back.
Mhm. Yeah.
He's like someone's saying the same dialogue again. It's like, "Oh, are you? I'm the man." And then he's like, "Are you the man?" And then it's just like you flip it and it's hard. It's funny. And the guy's getting beat up and all that. It's great. I love that.
Yeah.
But okay, I'll run through all the dialogue because I wrote a lot. I
Yeah,
ain't gonna
yeah.
lie. Are you trying to find God? No, I'm trying to find Amelia.
Yeah, oh, dude, that was a great, oh my god, one of the best.
Another great thing,
The movie was
Jackson
going
is when
great.
he's brushing his teeth, he has a calendar and he's like equanimity,
Yeah.
which I love the word because the fact is in life you need equanimity in general,
Yeah.
but this is a man who's obviously angry, and for him to be like equanimity, and then the example that he gives about like the woman and all that with equanimity is great.
Kinda follows
Whenever
through for the rest of the movie, by the way.
it does, that's true. When they're at the bowling alley, he says like Holland's like I'm done. Put a fork in me, and then he's like, don't actually put a fork in me.
Yeah, yeah, he's
he
like,
like
"Whoa,
puts
wait,
up
wait."
the nukes.
It's those little
You're
subtle
talking
things.
about
that are
Yeah,
good.
you're talking about a Blueface. Whenever Blueface and the legend Keith David come to Jackson's place, he's like when I get that gun off you, or when I get that gun off of you, kid, it's gonna be your dinner,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like, how do you write this stuff, right? It's like this is the stuff is so movie in the great way.
And it was kinda
Uh,
funny that he turns around and, like, goes straight to the fish tank, and he's like, "Oh, the dinner, huh?" And he's like, "I'm gonna feed you your dinner," and then that's what sets him off, and he's like, "Alright, like, we're not doing this anymore," and that's when Russell Crowe gets up and he's like, "Alright, we're just gonna go ahead and end this now. Like, this has gone too far."
at the birthday party with a kid, and it's a great thing because it's such a kid thing where it's like kids are always like doing bad behavior. It's like I think Holly says like Jesus or something,
Yeah.
and then Janet's like, "You took the Lord's name in vain." No, I didn't, Janet. I actually found it very useful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's and
I
it's
will
the way he
say it's
delivers it
funny.
too.
It's funny because like I always say "jeez," and my mom's like, "Why are you always taking Jesus' name like this? You need to stop taking the Lord." It was just funny, because obviously I'm Hindu and stuff, and
Yeah.
like I say "jeez" a lot. And my mom's like, "Why are you taking the Lord's name in vain like this?"
I it's funny because my parents would do that a lot whenever we were growing up, and eventually I got to a point where I was like, "I think he's got bigger things to worry about," and they're like, "Fair
Yeah.
point."
But one of my favorite lines in the movie, because I literally pulled it out yesterday when I was just writing, is "and stuff."
Oh, yeah. Every time
Because
it comes up, I'm just like, "Yeah."
he's Holly, she's walking inside to the party. She's like, "Dad, there's whores and stuff." And he's just like, "Don't say and stuff. Just say there's whores." But that's the
And
thing. Like
even
you're adding
that little
like
callback, not
details to
even
the character, right?
yeah, and not even that callback, not even 20 minutes later, where she was in that room with the adult actress,
Yeah.
and she was like, "They're doing, like, anal and stuff," and then she looks at her and goes, "Don't just say and stuff, just say that they were doing anal." It's like, "Alright." Like
The funny part is when Healy comes inside and he's like, "Why are y'all watching?" It's like, "Watching it, man. I'm in
in
it."
it, yeah. "This is mine, what are you talking about?"
But it's all the little stuff. I don't know if you picked up on it. I didn't pick up on it. Probably is because it's been so long since I've seen the movie. So it's like I remember when I see a movie I love, I remember majority of it. But I didn't pick up this joke. I think the first time I saw the movie when Kim Basinger, Kim Basinger, Keith David, just such a stacked cast, and even the small roles.
Ridiculous.
And she's like, when she finally meets Holland and Jackson, and she's like, "I want to hire you," and she pulls out her checkbook, and he's like, "Oh, it's gonna be a big expense to do this. Oh my god, it's gonna take so much to do. We can't do this for anything less than." And then she's writing the check for $10,000
Yep.
and nothing less than $5,000. And then she tears up the check, and they do it so matter of factly that like no one notices it. But it's like it's the comedy is there for us that like this dope doesn't realize that he could have had double the paycheck from this terrible woman.
Well, I think at that time, they didn't really know, like, what kinda money she had, what lengths she was gonna go to even,
Yeah, but
do what she needed to do, I guess.
nah, it's a good life lesson in general, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
you might be short selling yourself if you think that this is the value you have. People might see more value in anything than you do,
Yeah.
even about yourself or something you've done. So, nah, it's hilarious, but it's like it's such a low key moment where I'm like, a great movie takes even the smallest minute moment to add something to build up the movie and keep continuing to do it, and also not feeling like that they're doing that.
Yeah.
That's the
I
calculus.
think
And
I think one of the best lines that actually showcases that is whenever Amelia starts to run away from the party, and then the guy who came or not from the party, but from the house after the house was shot up, and the guy
yeah,
who tried to kill her she, like, meets him at the car as if to, like, get out of there, and she doesn't know
yeah,
that that's the guy that came to kill her, and he was like, "Well, this was easy."
yeah. So I think it's like that's where like the third act starts,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
John Boy literally shoots her and like leaves her in the street like a dead dog.
Yeah.
And it's like it's disgustingly sad.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth of the situation, right? That, you know, it is very much that, like, yeah, he just had an easy day. For her, it was just, she lost her life in this situation, right?
But, like,
And it says, good.
in a lesser movie, like, with terrible writing and stuff like that, that line would feel hokey. It doesn't here.
You just said and stuff.
Right? I didn't even
But that's what I'm saying. That's
didn't
why
even
that's the
didn't even
genius
catch
of
it.
the movie.
Yeah.
That's the genius, that you're just gonna say and stuff, right?
And then it's
And
gonna
that,
yeah.
like, and that's the thing about good writers, about good directors, where, like, I do this too, where it's like you will see behavior and human behavior that's so authentic
Yeah.
that you have to put it in a movie.
Yeah.
Chad Stahelski's like, oh, I saw, like, I was in Paris and there was a waiter and he said something. I'm like, oh, I have to tuck that back in my mind, or like write this down, because, like, this is something that's relevant. Like, this is going to come back in a character someday, you know? And I do that sometimes where I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely a line for somebody somewhere, you know? Like, things will happen in life like that, where it's like, the best stuff that you can make in a movie ultimately comes from life itself, right? It's art imitating life, and then art, and then it happens vice versa too. So
Yeah.
I always love that, like, connection to life. I think last couple ones are very much Jackson Healy, Russell Crowe, because that's where he gets his juice. The diner guy, the way that he sees himself. He's like, it was stupid. I got a $500 bill for a bullet in my bicep. It was stupid. And then he says, it was the best day of my life. I felt useful. And how do you build up a character and then make it like you see them see themselves in a bad way, and then build them up, and you feel the heartbreak, you feel this melancholy, right? I was like, dang, like, that's the way he sees himself, right? And it's such a beautifully human thing.
Mhm.
And you want those moments in your movies, right? He asks him, like, what did you do to that man? Like, did you kill him? And he's like, no. And Holly's like, I know you couldn't do something like that. And we know that he did kill him, right?
Yeah.
And that's the tension. And he goes and he sits back in his car, and you see the look that Jackson has. He's like, I've got to get better. I've got to change to some extent, you know? So it's like, I love those sorts of moments, man. Like, you need human moments like that in your movie. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is a low key, I wouldn't say this is, this movie doesn't let you turn off your brain in a good way. This keeps you entertained, but it also gives you the juice when it comes to the dialogue.
Yeah. The
The Layla, the best needle dropper used to score in a movie. I think this score, like that John Ottman, David Buckley did, I think it's like a quintessential noir detective
yeah.
70s movie score. And
Yeah.
that's one of the details of the production value of, like, it's adding to the creation of, like, this is an era movie, this is a period movie, and they did a great
Yeah.
job with it. Well,
I
what
agree
is
with
your Layla for this movie? Because it's pretty great soundtrack, honestly, for this movie.
Honestly, I'm gonna be entirely honest with you. Whenever it comes to, like, needle drops, I can never recall anything that sticks out immediately. I never can. I've never been good at that. I pay attention more to the score itself than I
Yeah.
do to
About with, like, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy.
well, yeah, like, that's I think the only reason that I have those and know those pretty well is because I have the vinyl and listen to
Okay.
it quite a bit. Like, and so I've got, like, a something that reminds me all the time of, like, what's in it.
Me,
But as
it's
far as,
like
like,
that,
this
like,
movie
if you like the first movie, if you don't have those songs, like the effect of the songs in that first movie is insane. Like, Come and Get Your Love, like, for the opening, because it's like you're in this sci-fi setting, and there's all this, like, it looks so serious, but then he turns on the tape and you're hearing, Come and Get Your Love, and he's like dancing around, and there's such a vibe. It creates the tone of that movie, truly.
Mhm.
And for this, they were just adding pretty much, like, this is the 70s, this is the vibe. The only one that, like, stuck out to me and I was like, oh, like, this is the vibe that I didn't pick up on before, was when they go to the party, like Sid Shattuck's party. The song that they like come in with, like, the aerial shot with to the house is Boogie Wonderland from Earth,
Yeah.
Wind, and Fire. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, yep, this is the 70s music. I'm vibing. This is the
Yep.
party. Because that's like a quintessential party song to me. So I'm just like, okay, this is awesome. And that's the thing. It's effortlessly done. It happens quick and you dive right into the party. You don't have to worry about anything else, right? Because the music leads you in, the shot and the music lead you in, push you in to the party. And yeah, that's mine. Like I mean, Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's like there's nothing else to say. It's like it's the goats. You know, this is classic music. This is
Yeah.
great music. So
Now, granted, if there had been something that stuck out as far as like negatively, as far as like this just doesn't fit,
yeah,
then yeah, I should probably, I would probably have something for you. But
yeah,
like, I think it's actually a testament to the music choices, the music supervisor,
yeah.
obviously Shane Black and everybody involved, that everything fits so well that nothing too much like it all melds together.
Even for the score itself, Shane has a credit for for the score also for
Yeah,
being like an executive producer and like actually having a creative like hand within like telling him how what music to have within it. So when it comes to the score, literal score itself too. So
yeah,
I mean, it depends on who you're working with and if they're being collaborative, right? You have like someone like a Ludwig and a Hans, they're going to collaborate with you. So you always want to work with people who are, and like you said, this is a collaborative art form. And you want to make sure that at every step of the way, like the director is like the coach, right? You have your job is just kind of to be everywhere. You're
yeah,
like, you might have a vision, but ultimately you have to hire the right people and work with the right people and cultivate that talent and make sure that they're doing their thing, right? And you have faith in them. You can't just be like, you need to do this. You need to be like, this is what I'm feeling. What do you've got? Like, let's do this together. That's what it's supposed to
yeah,
be. At least in my
yeah.
sense, I
No,
don't
yeah, same.
like
I feel the
some
same way.
people, like there are the other directors who are like, this is it. This is what I need. And I understand certain people like a George Miller, you need that. But even he's not like that.
Yeah,
He's like, I think he even said, like, I think the studio tried to re edit Mad Max Fury Road. And he's like, yeah, there's a couple edits in there that I liked. And we put them in the movie. Like you have to even when you're in a situation where you're literally fighting with the studio and they're trying
yeah,
to and he's literally making one of the best movies of all time, even then he has the humility to be like, yeah, they have some stuff we didn't have, right? And he
yeah,
learns and he makes it even better. And that's the job, is to make it even better, when at every point. So yeah, the score, it's quintessential noir, detective, jazzy, fun stuff where it's like it's supporting it, but it's like you don't really need to score too much. You just need it to be guiding the story, because the story when these with these movies is what like you're kind of pushing, right? Because you have to figure out like Amelia and Misty Mountain and Sid Shattuck and this and that. The details matter in these stories. So
yeah,
the music sometimes just takes it takes a step back in these, but the music's great either way.
yeah.
But you know who should have been in this movie? Let's recast the nice guys. I don't know if you came with any recast today,
I did
but
not.
we have a murderous cast between everyone from Ryan Gosling to Keith David to Margaret Qualley to Kim Basinger to a dead Robert Downey Jr. to a Jack Kilmer. The kid who's the projectionalist, the kid that they
Oh
find
yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah, 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 yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah.
that is Val Kilmer's son. He
Is it
was in a
really?
yeah, he was in a movie called Palo Alto,
I
and
didn't know
that's why I knew him. Like I already knew him before this. And you know who shot Palo Alto? Aldem Durald Arkapaw, the woman who just shot Sinners. Full
Oh, cool.
circle a little bit, but yeah, I think it's hilarious that he calls himself a projectionalist instead of a
Yeah,
projectionist. I was just like,
yeah,
okay. And that's like, I think he was probably like 20 at this point, and he was, he's got that like, the stoner vibe in a great way. I always, I knew quite a few guys that way, growing up. So I always love that. But yeah, great cast here. If you
yeah.
ain't got any, I'll cook. I got
I
some.
so I now that I think about it, like, there's probably only one that I could really think about that
Yeah.
would still be kind of in the same vein, and like it wouldn't really change anything too much, but it would still keep that same tone of the movie and the character. is Blueface could easily be played by Adam Goldberg. You know, after watching Dazed and Confused, you could see that Adam Goldberg could definitely play him because he's
Adam
kind of that
Goldberg.
same. Yeah, yeah, he's kind of that same vibe.
I'm
Trust me,
trying to
whenever you
make
see
sure.
it,
Even Goldberg
you'll
with the does he have a beard? I don't know if
he
I'm
does. I don't know if he
okay. I
does
got you. I know.
in Dazed
Yeah,
and Confused,
yeah.
but I don't
Because
remember if he does in
Adam
Dazed and Confused.
and that actor, they look like they could be brothers too.
Yeah, they really do, and I thought that too. It was at first. I
Oh,
was
okay,
like,
okay.
"Is that?" And I was like, "Oh no, it's not." And then I
Adam
was
is
like, "Yeah,
on.
if
I
anyone
think
was
he
gonna
was
be
on the
there."
Equalizer, the show
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
Queen Latifah. Yeah, that's why I
Yep.
was like, wait. I was see. That's why like I just have to recognize a face so that I can put it together because that's how it is a lot of the time. Like me and my dad will be watching movies. We'll be like, who is that? Like, where have I seen this person? Right. And it might
Yeah.
have been like some random TV episode from 10 years ago, but it's like, I know that guy. And
Yeah.
that's the thing about like good talent is that they are like that in the sense of like, you're so good that you're memorable. And
Yeah.
it's hard to casting is a very interesting situation always because you need to have people who are some people need to be memorable, some people don't need to be memorable, but like there's different there are different varying levels of memorability that different actors need to have for different roles, right?
Yeah.
Because let's say you had Robert Downey Jr. and you could actually see his face, right? People will be like, "Oh my god, that's Robert Downey Jr."
Yeah, it'll take you out of it. Yeah, it'll
He'll
take you
take
out
you.
of it.
But like I could, like they gave him a prosthetic nose and all that. But like
Yeah.
once you watch it, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, that is totally Robert." But yeah, it's pretty cool. I will say for me, I had a interesting time doing this. Meaning I
Really.
didn't have a fun time doing it, but I was like, this is so hard to do because like this movie is so well cast.
Well, see, that's the thing is, like, if the concept of because I was talking about this with Miracle that's gonna be coming out on my pod here soon, last night, is that, like, the whole point of recasting and having that conversation is the implication that there is something wrong with the initial cast to begin with.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong,
And
but
I'm
that's
like
why I,
and I'm
I
like, I
never do a
can't
bar for bar.
even yeah, no,
Yeah,
I can't sit here and because like, Margaret Qualley for a lot of the recastings, if we were to talk about a movie that, came out later and then was to be re-released now, like, today, like, if it were to have an
yeah,
initial release now, like, Margaret Qualley is my typical, like, go-to for, like, a, brunette
yeah.
woman who is
I
a
got
great
you.
actor who could be thrown into almost any situation, and it works. And she's already in this movie,
Yeah,
so I don't have to worry about that.
S-
Like Russell Crowe, literally no one.
everybody's
Russell Crowe
perfect
and
in this
Ryan
movie.
Gosling,
Yeah,
there's no one that you can put in those spots and it still work.
yeah. I mean, I'll try.
I mean, I'll let yeah, go
No,
ahead
see,
and
that's the thing is like when you cast somebody, and especially like the way they play a character is a very specific thing. So whenever we've recast, I never do a bar for bar because it's like certain ones you can with maybe like a 70s 80s movie where you can just be like what if, but
yeah.
besides that I'm just like let's move it to today, whether it's like Jaws or something like that, right? Where I'm like, oh, if I made Jaws today, Coleman Domingo is in this movie,
Mhm,
I'm
yeah,
casting different actors of this era in reflection of the work that they did in that era, right? So that's what I'm doing here.
yeah,
And I'll start off the top. Holland. So Ryan Gosling is Donald Glover now. Donald is
okay,
pretty much at that age now, and
yeah,
he whenever like his comedy acting wise, he still has that like physicality. He has
mhm,
that level of like egoless doing comedy, but also he can be serious and you can take him seriously even in traumatic moments.
yeah.
So Donald was mine, and that was a pretty hard one to find because I was just like, I don't know who else could really do this. There's no one. There's no talent under at 35 right now that can do that. Honestly,
I think he could pull it off. Like, I mean, just knowing what he did in Community and everything, he could
yeah,
probably pull it off.
because he's done Community, Atlanta, like he's done the serious comedy, like the dark comedy, and then he's also done the comedy, the funny
Yeah,
comedy, and he excels at both. And that's what this
mhm,
ultimately is. It's definitely both worlds. So he would have a good time doing that. It's just he might have to. I mean, because I there's certain moments in Atlanta where I'm just like,
this is hilarious. Like, it's not hilarious for him, but it's hilarious for us, And there's a
Yeah.
lot of that in this movie. I don't know how you're gonna take this for Russell Crowe, for Jackson Healy, Danny McBride, because Danny can do serious, this would not be, the usual fare of like him just like throwing 1,000 jokes a minute. It would be him having to be serious, and it would be
Yeah.
something you've never seen from him, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not casting Danny just to be Danny. I'm casting him because he's funny, but he's also like, he's got like I think he looks mean, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you didn't know who Danny McBride was and you just saw him on the street, he might be a scary dude.
Yeah, I just don't like. I don't see him as the muscle because I think Russell Crowe is so much bigger and just like has like such a bigger build just
Oh,
naturally
I
that
mean,
I'm like
Danny
I
has a
don't
big
even.
build.
I mean, he
Danny,
does, but
Danny can beat the
if you're
crap out of
comparing
somebody.
him, if you're comparing him to Russell Crowe, who is already there, it's kind of like I'm
Yeah,
like I don't
I got you.
know.
Margaret, I went with Jenna Ortega. That's just a hard one
Yeah,
to do.
that's clear.
Because
I
you
I was
you need
thinking
someone in their
like
20s, and like how it's really hard to find talent in their 20s, at that age that
yeah,
hasn't popped off yet,
yeah,
and what you want for that role is like, like, oh, mom, you want that sort of vibe as a person. And
yeah,
Jenna, obviously, Wednesday, everything else, she is that, and she's closer to that age. So I was just like, that's who I went with. And a lot of the younger casts that I know, they're all pretty much 30. They're my age, your age. And I'm just like, they don't fit. They look too old for this, right?
yeah.
So it's not.
I think the only other one that I was
I was
thinking
looking up
about.
Rachel Sennett's age before we started. That's what I
Oh,
was
really?
doing.
Yeah.
I was like, I
No,
know she's our age. She's
no,
30.
yeah,
So
she's
I was
like
like,
30. Yeah.
yeah,
I was thinking like maybe I don't remember how old Mikey Madison is, but like
she's around our age.
around our age, yeah.
Yep, yep.
She could definitely play kind of a little bit younger as well.
Yeah.
So like maybe she could have
That's a
done
good
that.
guess. Yeah, she
Yeah.
would be pretty good for that too. Not pretty good. She'd be great for that because
Yeah.
she's that same sort of like, she had a show on FX. I'm forgetting the name of the show, but she's great in that too because she's playing that sort of like teenager, like not teenager, but or like teenager in that show, but that same sort of vibe that you would want. So yeah, Mikey
Yeah.
would have been great in that too. But that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't feel like a long time, but like 10 years makes a difference, especially with like younger ages. Like Kim Basinger, I went with Naomi Watts. I think that
Ooh, yeah.
Naomi would have killed that. And, I wanted to go with someone who's kind of been in a film noir to some extent. Like, Mulholland Drive was the comparison. Because Kim Basinger is obviously in a LA Confidential, iconic movie, honestly, for me. Even Russell is in LA Confidential with Guy Pearce and, that one bad dude from Seven. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
great, but LA Confidential is still a great movie. Kim is great in it. And I think Naomi, she would have killed playing the politician mother, but also, being the villain. And she has levels to it.
I
I was
think Hannah
talking about,
Waddingham would be decent too.
but she English. That's what I was like. I had to go with some American.
She
I
could
know,
she could
right?
easily pull that off.
She could probably play American. She played American. She played a chief
In Mission Impossible.
in Mission Impossible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
She
mean,
could pull that off.
I love, I'm not gonna stumble over my words. I love Hannah. I think she
Yeah.
is just amazing, amazing. I love her work. She's awesome. That woman needs to be in so much more. So yeah, I love Hannah. And same thing, she has that sort of like brutal, like she's tall and she has like this like physicality to her that like like you're almost scared of her,
Yeah.
like that's a lot of woman
And you
in
know
a
you
good way,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know
I
she
don't
can
mean
do
it
it because
disrespectfully.
you know she can do it because she basically did it in Ted Lasso. All she has to do is tone it down a little bit.
That, I
Like,
mean,
in the
that's
beginning
true.
season of Ted Lasso, like,
Yeah,
she
she's
tones
pretty
it down
serious.
and she's got it. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like,
That's true.
that's it's not hard.
I think you're like my John Boy because I did think about like Keith David and like Blue Man, and
You
I didn't really
can't
want to go for those. John Boy, Zac Efron.
Ooh,
You want kind
yeah.
of like a hunky looking dude who's kind of just like,
After the
wait,
Iron Claw
why is this?
too.
I love Matt Bomer, like White Collar. I grew up watching. I think he's a
Oh,
great
yeah, he was
actor.
white collar.
So like Matt Bomer is one of those dudes I'll recognize right away, and that's
How
kind
did
of
I
the
not
role.
make that connection?
So I was just like, oh, Zac Efron. Just put Zac in this, and he would have just been effortlessly cool and fun for 5 minutes and left. You know?
Yeah, because that's all he really needed to. He was only in the movie for a couple minutes, so
Yeah,
but like Zach, especially after you're seeing him in the Iron Claw, like he could easily do that
he can do
if he
anything.
wanted to. Yeah,
He can do anything.
yeah,
Because Ironclaw, he's legitimately Oscar worthy, great actor. Should have, that is great performance.
yeah.
Last one I had was the projectionalist. Or actually, no, last two are the younger ones. Projectionalist, because I love saying that word. Finn Wolfhard. You want like you want a kid, right? In their like younger 20s, kind of like hippie, like skater boy vibes. That's Finn.
I have another one for you.
Go ahead.
What's his name that played Jimmy Olsen recently?
Skylar Gisondo, who's
Yeah,
also on Psych,
yep,
he's got a lot of charisma too. I
he
love him.
does. Yeah.
That kid is going places. But
Oh yeah.
Angourie, Holly. I don't think we've talked about Holly enough because this
No.
movie very much is Jackson, Jackson, Holland, and Holly. It's all three of them. And that's what sets this movie apart from like everything else is that it's a buddy movie, but we have a kid here too.
Yeah.
And she's not here just to be like, oh, my mom's dead, you know?
Yeah.
Like she's her whole character. She's guiding, she has her own journey through the movie and she's guiding the story itself too. She's figuring out different aspects of the movie. She's grabbing, the gun out of the cookie jar when John Boy shows up. She's the one who's telling Amelia to run whenever Blueface is trying to grab her at the party. Like she is her own character and does a lot through the movie. And she's honestly my favorite character in the movie. I love the other two, but like this is a character we've never really had in cinema before, and we have obviously not gotten since. So it's like that's like the one edge of like putting this movie over the edge of just being something that's been done before that is brought into being something novel. So I love Holly. I think is a hard character to cast, but I think I found the right person.
Okay.
She's once I talk about this. She's great. Julia Butters, who is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She was just in Freakier Friday. She's in
Oh.
The Fablemans. She's an amazing actress. She would have been perfect as Angourie as Holly because
Yeah.
she could definitely play the smart, snappy, smart girl easily. Because that's what she is in Once Upon a Time. Because she's sitting there acting with Leo, bar for bar. There's no like, oh, this girl doesn't know. She is amazing in that movie, right? And then she goes and whispers in his ear like, "That's the best acting I've ever seen," right? And he picks up the guy. He's like, "I'm Rick Dalton," or whatever he says,
Yeah.
and
I
that's awesome, man. That's why she would be perfect for that role.
I think that'd be it is kind of a hard thing to cast because, Holly is like the emotional glue of like the
The
whole
movie,
movie.
yeah. But like
Yeah, so it is kind of a
that's the
hard
only
thing
one
to
I'm actually really
navigate.
proud of. Like I like
Yeah,
all the
no,
other ones, but like
good
that's the
choice.
one where I was like, oh yeah, like if they made the movie today, she has to play that role, and she would
It's a
get the role, and it would
it's a good
happen.
choice. Yeah.
So I'm gonna get off the casting. You
Yeah.
you got any soapbox right now? You soapbox today?
Not really. I
Because I
mean,
feel like I started with a soapbox today, honestly.
no, yeah. I mean, there's so much that could be said about this movie. We've already touched on a lot of things, and like the corruption is the biggest thing that was talked about in this movie.
Yeah,
That is like there's so many other things going on, but at the core of this movie is the corruption between governments and corporations. And that was like the whole thing. It doesn't look like it because you've got this whole like whodunit murder mystery type deal going on in the entirety of the movie, but it is at its core
a,
about
it's a
corruption and
conspiracy
people's
movie, right?
ability to. Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it doesn't come off. It just comes off as like, oh, we need to find this girl, and there's this dead lady at the beginning of the movie, and like we're trying to figure out a murder, but the murder ends up being a whole conspiracy,
Yeah.
and yeah, the conspiracy
And
ultimately is the point of the movie. Like I said, it is about the catalytic converters.
and the cool thing about this movie is that, and we were kind of touching on this last night whenever I was talking to the boys about Miracle. The core theme of this movie is not only is something that has been going on way before we were thought of. You know, it at the conception of America and even well beyond that. But also, unless things start to change, is going to be a thing that continues in the next 40, 50 years. So, regardless of when you pick this movie up and watch it for the first time or rewatch or whatever,
Yeah.
those themes are still going to hold true. They're still going to be there. And I think that's great thing about good writing. That's a great thing that we love about movies in general is that there is a tiny little time capsule within, a certain amount of runtime that allows you to look at a movie and not only see something from the past, but also see something in the present and in the future. And The Nice Guys is one of those movies because of the conversations that it has. And that's kind of ultimately why I like this movie so much. Not only because of the acting, because of the comedy, because of the writing, but because there is that message there that is going to hold true for however long that, corruption and governments are going to be a thing, which from from my current estimation is going to be for a while.
I mean, the problem is the fact that you have people who are in. Why do they want the power, right?
Yeah.
You give responsibility to the right people, it's not an issue. But if you give power to people who don't have it, and then the people who want to keep it afterwards, they're not going to do anything worthwhile. You want to give people votes, and then they're going to do everything in their power to stay in office, meaning
Hmm.
they're not going to do anything worthwhile. They're not going
Yeah.
to change anything that's worth needing change, because if they alienate people, they can't hold on to that power anymore. There's a lack of boldness. There's a level of apathy. They think and act like they care, but they don't care. They will
Yeah.
care about their money. There's plenty of people on both sides of the aisle in Congress to this day who are making millions upon millions because of their position, whether it's from lobbying, whether it's from the stocks, from every other thing. And that's the issue. How do you fix that? The fact is that you're giving the wrong people power, and the system you're giving them power within is enabling this thing, right? So it's like there's a lot of things to consider within all that, right? That people are just going to do what they want till there's something that happened recently. Someone went to the White House and they're like, wait, why is this guy at the White House? And it's like, yeah, he's trying to use, there's a power play happening here, and there's a lot of things going on, and there's a bunch of irrelevant stuff because it's the argument of power between, corrupted individuals. So it's like, yes, obviously in every system, there's going to be good people with good intention, but the system itself is messed up, right?
Yeah.
The corporations, they want to say that, oh, like a corporation will do their job and help the people that they employ, for example, right? That doesn't happen. you know one of the biggest grocery stores, which I don't want to get into, but the fact is that they're the ones who have the biggest recipients of food stamps. How does that work? How are like you're supposed to be the biggest, but you're also the ones with the poorest people, because you're keeping all the money and you're having record profits, right? And this is what I was talking about before at the beginning, right? That the fact is that you will have, regular person working, and then the CEO is getting paid literally 1,000 times more, and
Yeah.
there's there's no there's no difference in human being.
Nope.
Fundamentally, that's the message: is the fact that it does not matter who you are, you're just the same amount of human being, no matter how much you're getting paid, right? Everybody has the same, pretty much the same capacity to do good work, right? Everyone can become a Spielberg. But the thing about a Spielberg is that the timing at where you're doing it and what work you're doing and every other aspect of what life is itself. So yeah, these corporations can't get away with these catalytic converter issues, and put
Yeah.
that to any situation. Throw it to Aaron Brockovich, whether you're saying you're poisoning the minds of people, you're poisoning the water, you're poisoning, microplastics, or, aluminum that's caused in deodorant that's causing Alzheimer's. I think Chobani is today we're getting in a lawsuit because they have phthalates in their yogurt. You
Oh,
know,
fun.
like what is the sanctity of the world, right? It's supposed to be a love for this world, a respect for this world, or love for humanity, but it seems like y'all care about the money more than people. And that's
And
what the movie's talking about, right? Throughout all this crazy stuff that's going on, that's what the movie's talking about, right?
I've held this sentiment that I've told a lot of people, because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, we need to boycott this, we need to boycott that," and I've said this to a lot of people. I've said, if you based all of your purchases based on morality, you'd never purchase anything ever again.
That's true. And all you can do is you can do what you can do, right? Which
Yeah,
boycotting, I mean, you can, avoid eating something for so long or do something, but people still go back to it ultimately. And I don't
yeah,
mean it in a bad way, it just happens, right? But it's like I don't eat meat, right?
yeah,
What is that? What is the meaning behind that? Just like, oh, like, this is a religion and they told you not to eat, so you don't eat. No, I am trying to avoid the harm that comes from eating meat. That's all it is. But on the other side, you can argue that because you eat more vegetables and stuff, the amount of energy that it takes to do that. Oh, you still eat
mhm,
dairy, then what's the biological cost to the planet for that also, right? So it's like you said, right? It's like you can avoid certain things where you can, but ultimately it doesn't, our lives all come at a cost, right? There's as beings on earth, you were causing something to happen in general, right? So it's like you have to manage what you're doing. I wouldn't say boycotting is not changing anything per se, but there's also like your actions do dictate something, but it's not like a full change. There has to be a systematic change too, right? And that happens only when a lot like everybody gets on the same page. And boycotting is not, on the same page. So
yeah.
you can try. I'm not saying not to try, but that's not lasting change. It
No,
isn't. I can say, like you should definitely consider where you're spending your dollars, though. I will say that.
yeah,
You can't just be like, oh, here, charity, here you go. There's certain because you can say that it's a charity, but they're spending how much money paying their CEO for a charity? Like,
hundred
and who's
thousand
paying?
plus easily for
Yeah.
most of them.
How much does Susan G. Komen Foundation? How much money do they pay theirs? Six figures.
Oh, easily.
And
Yeah.
it's like if you wanted to have a nonprofit, and that's the thing that they use. That's the sneaky word,
Yep.
a nonprofit corporation.
Yeah.
Right? It's a corporation. They're helping people, but it's a corporation.
Yep.
And people need to help people. Number one, there's no ego about it. There should be a modesty within it, right? No, you don't have to tell people you're helping people. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, it should just be a responsibility that we all hold and understand that, you know, that this is where we are. It's my responsibility to help people because I have the ability to help them. And, it's just it's the right thing to do. That's it.
Hmm. Yeah.
You can people are thing on soapbox. Listen, this is a real thing. People are very easily, what do you call it? They're given the freedom of not caring because they have money. They can say, "Here's money, get out of my face."
Yeah.
The real currency, if you actually want to help people, is time.
Hmm.
If you give your time, people don't want to give their time. They want to give the money. They want to give time. You want to say, like people go to soup kitchens and things like that and help there. That's a good thing because you're giving your time and your physical efficiency. But even then, there's even more that we could do
Yeah.
fundamentally. So, yeah, there that conversation runs long, but it is a fact that this is about corporations and the fact that a corporation in its, you know, metaphor of like literally being the face of capitalism is doing something that's not necessarily in the goodwill of of the people, right?
Yeah.
You'll have
Yeah.
something like the Nice Guys. You'll have something like Andor, which is they spent $700 million on this thing, and they're literally making fun of the system that made it, and that's the whole point. Okay, so maybe that's why they don't give this man money because he's talking the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
He putting us on game, but he don't mean to put us on game, man. I will say 2016. So how I don't know. So you said you watched a lot of movies. I'll get into the
Yeah,
Oscars
dude.
for this year. This is the Moonlight, La La Land year.
Yeah.
Silence came
Yeah.
out. I think it's a great year of movies. I think 17 might have been a little bit better, but a lot of good movies coming out in general. What do you remember? What are you thinking about Oscars for this movie?
So actually, I remember watching. This is the first time I remember watching the Oscars and like looking at it and going like, What?" Like a lot of times, a lot of the wins and stuff, it
Yeah.
didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Want
I'm
me
gonna
to
pull it
go down the
back
list real
up.
quick?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it back up real quick.
Actor, best actor in a
Wait,
leading
so
role.
this came out in 2016. It has to be a 2017 Oscar, right?
Yes.
So yeah, 2017 Oscars. Okay, hold on one
So,
second.
best actor in a leading role, we had Casey Affleck. Ryan
Yeah,
Gosling was nominated for La La Land, which he is fantastic in also.
yeah.
Uh, it's a hard. That's like one of the greatest problems to have to act
You've got Denzel and
like
Fences.
La La Land versus Nice Guys. Ryan Gosling,
Yeah,
amazing performances.
and Andrew
Actors in a
Garfield and Hacksaw. Yeah,
yeah, Andrew for Hacksaw and that, yeah. Best actor in a supporting role. Mahershala Ali won for Moonlight,
that.
rightfully.
Yeah, that.
Jeff
Yeah.
Bridges nominated for Hell or High Water. Have you seen Hell or High Water?
I have not. I need to watch Hell or High Water. That's on my
Because we were
list.
talking about when we watched Sicario. Y'all will love that movie. It's great.
Yeah,
Have you seen Manchester by the Sea?
yeah. I see Manchester by the
Yeah,
Sea.
that's
I liked
great.
that. Yeah,
Michael Shannon, Nocturnal Animals, Tom Ford, gr- real good
I still need
movie.
to watch that.
Tom Ford finally, after like 10 years, finally making another movie. I'm excited. Best actress, Emma Stone. That was great.
Yeah,
Best actor in a supporting role. That's the only thing this movie would have had because there's no women in leading roles in this one.
yeah, yeah. That's really the
but
only thing
even
it would have had.
but even then, this is a pretty stacked year. I don't know about Nicole
Yeah,
for
this is.
Lion, but Octavia Spencer in a Hidden Figures, Michelle Williams, Manchester, Naomi Harris for Moonlight, and Viola winning for Fences, which is like I think she's a better actress than Meryl Streep, but we're not going to talk about that. And
So the only other thing that I'm looking at right now that I could actually place them in is possibly costume design. Because like yes,
costume design, I
Fantastic
could, yeah.
Beast is great, but like, and I mean
Colleen
Allied, like really?
Colleen Atwood is like she's a legend.
Yeah,
The real winner for that costume design is La La Land.
yeah,
Mary
yeah, yeah,
Zophris's work is the best work out of all that because the way that the intentionality of musicals specifically, the way that we've talked about this is the third 2016 movie on the pod because we've done La La Land and we've done Arrival. And obviously I think both of them are better than Nice Guys just objectively. I think everybody can agree on that even though they're all great
yeah,
movies. La La Land, the way that Damien envisioned the visual of the costumes and the set design, the production design, it goes hand in hand as it should in musicals. So that one wins. But yeah, you're right. Nice Guys
I
should
think it should
definitely be
definitely
here.
be in
I
costume
think
design.
the
Yeah,
costuming in Allied is good, but also I remember being in the theater and being like, "What is this Florence Foster Jenkins?" I'm like, "No, literally."
yeah,
When
yeah,
we walked into the theater, the first trailer that played was for Florence Foster Jenkins before The Nice Guys. I was like, "What is this?" I was like, "This is just a period piece. This is like, why are you making this movie? This is not interesting."
yeah. I genuinely didn't even know it existed until I looked at that list for the Oscars, and I
And
was
because
like,
bro,
oh,
Meryl Streep is nominated for an Oscar for it,
which
That's
is
like
crazy
I'm
that I
just like,
don't even know
what
what
is
this movie
this?
is.
Because people they make a lot of movies like that, Judy.
Yeah,
They made that I think is it Judy Garland, Rachel Zellweger was playing Judy Garland, I think, or something. And it's just like, why did y'all make this? Another one nominated here is Jackie. Natalie Portman playing Jackie O'Kennedy. Or
yeah,
Jackie Kennedy, excuse me. I'm going full Irish
yeah.
O'Kennedy.
Okay, yeah,
But Jackie's actually great,
yeah,
Pablo Lorraine has made that. He made Spencer with Kristen Stewart, Maria with Angelina Jolie. He has a great talent of making these stories about real women in not great situation, pretty like serious situations,
dire.
but like great
Yeah,
movies out of these serious situations where I'm like, I don't like biopics, but everyone he's made has interested me. I think Spencer plays like a horror movie and he's got Kristen Stewart in there and it's awesome, but it's like, yeah, he makes some pretty great movies. Directing, we're just gonna scroll past everything else. I'm not gonna
yeah.
argue anything else, even
There's really
though,
nothing else
like I
to
said,
argue.
it's just a great year of movies in general. But you'll have random wins. Oh, we talked about it for film editing. How does Hacksaw Ridge win editing when you have Arrival sitting right there?
Yeah,
La La Land is sitting right there. Like these
Yeah.
movies, the editing is, you need the editing in both movies much more. And Arrival is the most crucial editing. That movie don't work without the editing. Like
Yeah.
you could work up and down with La La Land, you could work up and down with The Nice Guys, but you can't work up and down with Arrival because the entire movie crutches on the reveals in that movie
Yeah.
of the time frame and all that jazz. So
And even I would even argue that it should have gotten a nom for writing, for original writing.
for screenplay, yeah,
Yeah, for
definitely,
screenplay.
most
Definitely
definitely,
should have.
because the thing is, this year for original screenplay is stacked.
It is.
Kenny Lonergan for Manchester, Taylor
Yeah.
for Hell or High
The
Water,
Watchmen.
and Sicario. Yeah, that's a lesser script than Hell or High Water in my opinion. I think that's the best thing he's written. Period. La La
Yeah.
Land. I still think that's one of the best things. I mean, Damien, Babylon, but La La Land is fantastic. That was his baby that he was trying to make in the first place. Yorgos with The Lobster. That is a good script. 20th Century Women, great script too. Mike Mills. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches with that, and on top of that, The Nice Guys is just as great. So it
It
definitely
is.
should have been there. You're right about that. And all it is the politics and the campaigning and hype and all that jazz. But yeah, The Nice Guys, it has the sauce. And yeah, it wasn't there, but Ryan's there at least. I think Ryan, did he win an Oscar? Has he won an Oscar? I don't know,
Mm,
because
I
I know
think
he
so.
got I know he got nominated for Ken for playing Ken in Barbie, but I don't think he has an Oscar.
I'm looking at it right now. I'll let
He's
you know.
he's it doesn't he's one of our greatest actors. Just getting into legacies, he's still one of our greatest actors.
Nominated for 3 actors, but nothing.
Nothing won. I don't think he gets his credit. The movie I was
Yeah.
talking about before, his movie that he directed, it's called Lost River. I
Mm.
it took me 2 hours to remember the name of the movie. And I think anybody, if you're ever interested, if you like David Lynch even a little bit, go watch the Lost River. It's from Mad Men. Christina Hendricks is in it. Saoirse Ronan's in it. The dude from he played the Doctor. He was in Caught Stealing this year, or from like Doctor Who, played the Doctor. I forgot his name.
Sorry.
You know who I'm
Matt
talking
Smith.
about.
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith, yes, he's even in it. So it's like it's a crime. It's an interesting movie, and you see the influences. And Ryan, as an artist, as a director, he has like a prowess there, and obviously he's doing a lot of acting. He's in the new Star Wars movie. I would hope that he would rather direct a movie himself than be in a Star Wars movie directed by Sean Levy. I would rather Ryan direct the movie than Sean Levy direct that movie.
Yeah,
Honestly, it would
I
be a
would
better.
too.
But yeah, that's the thing, right? Like it took him 13 years to get this movie made, right? And I feel like
Mhm.
people just, because he made The Lost River and he was trying to do something interesting, that people maybe don't want to give him the money to do it. But I would hope that we see Ryan back as a director.
Yeah.
What sticks out for you for the legacy for this movie, for the people in front of the camera, behind the camera? Because it has been 9 years, and I think there's the most blaring question. We'll talk about it in a minute, but what do you have for people in general?
People in general, I mean, obviously Ryan Gosling, but even, like, behind the camera is gonna have to be Shane Black's writing. Because if it
Yeah,
wasn't for that, we wouldn't be talking about this movie at all. And I guess his direction too, because obviously he kinda molded everybody into the way that he wanted the movie to be made. But as far as, like, who sticks out the most is Ryan Gosling. Like, when
yeah.
you think of The Nice Guys, you think of his performance more often than not.
And I don't think Russell Crowe has been in anything that's been as great as this since. Just to
Yeah.
be, I feel
No,
like
yeah,
he should agree
you're
with
right.
that. I love Russell Crowe. We've done Gladiator on the pod. I love the guy too. Angourie, she's in the Spider-Man movies as like a tertiary character. She plays like the news girl in that, and she's good. She had a movie called Honor Society with a Gaten
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Matarazzo from Stranger Things.
Stranger Things,
The
yeah.
movie is not, blowing your mind, but the movie is her. It's her. She's a lead role in that. And I
Mhm.
think the movie is good for that. I think she deserves to have many, many more roles. She's awesome. And, hopefully time will tell with that, because certain people get roles, certain people don't, but she has the talent. She has the juice. So I would love to see more of her in big roles. I think the biggest like upgrade, like where it's like, oh, like the investment. Like I've been a fan of Margaret Qualley since before this. I think the first time I saw her was it was Apollo Alto or like The Leftovers. I think the pilot of Leftovers is the first time I saw
Mm.
her, and that was when I saw that I was like, oh, whoever this is, she's awesome. And slowly as I see her in more stuff, and I was excited to see her in this movie. I'm like, this is a big role for her. And I'm sure she will say that this is something that definitely got her more roles and things like that. And nowadays, she's killing it.
She's everywhere. Yeah.
I I don't like Honey Don't, but she's the lead of that movie.
Yeah.
Like she's doing it up. She's having a good time. She's one of the best talents we have, in this age group. Just as like a Florence Pugh or Zendaya or anybody else. So I love Margaret. I love her work. And she's always doing something interesting, It's not just, I don't even know if she's done really any IP work. There's no Marvel movie behind a Margaret Qualley. There's a Sanctuary,
Yeah.
or like
No.
she does interesting movies, just in
Yeah.
general. She has a, what was it, Blue Moon, right? I
Blue
still have
Moon
to
this
watch
year.
it.
Yeah. She
I
she did great in that movie.
like I'm excited to watch that. She's working with a Linklater. She's working with a lot of interesting people and keeps
Yeah.
working with. I think the biggest movie she's done is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And
Yeah.
I think
Probably.
out of the younger cast, when there's a great younger cast in that movie, I think she's the one who shines the most.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, you got Mikey, you got Austin Butler, you got Sydney Sweeney, you got
You've got some crazy
Dakota
people in that
Fanning's in
movie.
it. Great
Yeah.
young cast in that movie. And even then, she's the one who, like, with her dirty feet shines as a star. Yeah, I say that as a joke because
Oh, Quinn.
Tarantino, man, when she puts her feet on the dashboard, I'm
Oh,
laughing.
Quinn.
It's hilarious. But yeah, I love Margaret. And yeah, I think the movie, like, just in general, I think the legacy will always be great because the movie's great. And every time people see the movie, they'll have even more of a love for it. It'll be like, hey, have y'all seen this movie? This movie is awesome. I don't think you've seen this movie. Check it out. It is one
Yeah.
of those sorts of cult classic movies. And it'll become that, as the time goes on, even more. But I did want to say, the biggest question that comes out of this movie is ultimately, why is there not a sequel? Right?
Dude, I tweeted it last night. You saw it. I was like, we need a Nice Guys too, and
And
this is
I
something that
think
we've been talking
Shane
about on
Black,
Film Twitter for a
even
while.
Shane Black wanted a sequel. I think he was probably during like the
That's up for it.
Predator stuff, like a Predator or Play Dirty. He was during like press. He was definitely like, I want to make another one. But last year in 2024, Gosling was probably asked about it, and like, why is there no sequel? And he says, so much of a sequel, I think, is decided by the opening weekend of a movie. And it might have been a lot in 2016, but it's even more so in the current era. And
Yeah.
he's like, we opened against Angry Birds. So Angry Birds just destroyed us. Angry Birds got a sequel. And the funny thing, not funny thing, interesting thing, I don't know if I asked you if you watched Central Intelligence,
Yeah.
but did you watch the Central Intelligence,
Mhm.
like the Kevin Hart, The
Mhm.
Rock
Yeah.
movie? Did you watch
Yeah.
that in theaters?
No, I didn't watch it in theaters. I kind of watched that like after it was out.
Those two movies switched dates. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Central
Yeah. We
Intelligence
talked about
made
that.
good money, you know?
Yeah.
That obviously cultivated into like a Jungle Book, or not Jungle Book, excuse me, a Jumanji, and that led into some bigger things for those two people. But we got that instead of the Nice Guys too.
I know. And if
And
we switch those 2 dates back, like if it was back to where
I
it was normally, I think it would be a different conversation.
I don't think it would be a different conversation, just
Well,
because
because what else would it
I mean
have gone up against at that time?
it was like, it was a couple weeks later. It was like June 17th. It was the summer still. But I
Yeah.
mean, in the sense that, like, the fact is that people know Ryan Gosling, but Ryan Gosling isn't out there like social media, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Kevin and The Rock are out there in that sense, right?
Yeah.
And whether we agree with it or not, that's what sells movies nowadays. Not every movie, because Christie bombed. You can say that
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney is one of the most popular women in the world right now, and even then, that movie didn't do well. And that's a
Yeah.
lesson to learn also for them. But this situation is kind of the same thing, where it's like Ryan Gosling is pretty dang popular, and even then, this movie didn't sell.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's an interesting conversation when it comes to that, but ultimately, I say
you know, that's what I was saying before, that Warner Brothers, they made their money, and people are like, oh, like one battle after another's the one that like messed up their streak or this or that. No, if you can make all of these other movies, you can make one Nice Guys or one battle after another that actually matters, you know? So that's, Nice Guys too. I would love to see it. I think that's a pretty effortless, like, sequel to make, in the sense that like they're just on another case. Angorie's older. So she goes from being like the person who's helping the story to being like someone who's causing issues in the story. And
Yeah.
then, Holland dealing with Holly, and there would be such a clash there that would be hilarious. And it'll, and then you have the case of the movie, right? So it's like the movie writes itself in that sense.
Oh,
It would be a fun
yeah.
story and a
They could
fun
easily
time.
get it done. They just need to get it done.
They just need to have
Like,
the means to do it, which you never know if he's written the movie yet. You never know. People don't say, "Oh, I wrote a movie," and we would only know if it didn't happen. And it's not happening for sure. But
yeah.
be that as it may, I think you already went into MVP a little bit. Who is your MVP for this movie? Because
Gosling.
you're, I don't know, Gosling.
Gosling, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kinda hard for it not to be, because it is like, whenever I was growing up, I only knew him from Remember the Titans,
Yep. It too.
because yeah, he is. I watched him, constantly in that movie because I wore that movie out. But when you think of Ryan Gosling, you don't necessarily like, if you were to take this movie out of the equation, you wouldn't think of him as a comedic actor. But because of this movie, you can actually, like, see him in a comedic role now.
He's funny in The Big Short. I think he's funny as Ken in
Yeah,
Barbie.
but it doesn't hold a fucking candle to this performance.
Not
Let's
at
be
all.
honest.
Not at all.
This
And
performance is something
that's my
else.
problem, right? Is that people have seen Barbie and they've seen The Big Short a lot more than they've seen this.
Yeah,
And he's better in this.
and
He's
you're
funny
doing
in
yourself
La
a
La
disservice.
Land, but he's great in this.
It
It's like every other movie. This is the funniest movie he's ever been in. This is the funniest he's ever been, and people need to give it more credit.
I've seen this movie a couple times. I still laugh at everything he does. I
Well,
can watch it 2 weeks from now, and I'm still gonna laugh at the exact same points that I did last night.
because he's that great, right,
Yeah,
in the movie. And it's not
yeah,
like yeah, like Shane Black, obviously he's done a lot. He's the one making the movie, all that, but like this movie does not work. It's not great without Ryan. And Ryan, like he builds it up, right? He's the one who has to get the laughs, because it's not Jackson, it's not Russell, it's not Holly. No one else is getting the laughs. He's the one getting the laughs.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, like, yeah, my MVP was the cast, right? It is Crowe, it's Angourie, it's Rice, but it's ultimately Ryan Gosling, because
yeah,
bro is cooking here, man. And imagine him in another straight comedy, or not straight comedy, a comedy like this,
yeah.
where it's like there's other things going on, genre piece. He would kill it. And that the funny thing is, I don't. This this is me being more optimistic than I usually. I'm a pretty optimistic person. You know this.
Yeah,
What if the Last Starfighter, whatever it is, has a lot of comedy? Because Sean Levy's
yeah.
movies
Ooh,
have comedy, right?
yeah,
And if he's just being funny in that movie, it's gonna be pretty awesome. Even though
yeah.
he was, I mean, like they made the Adam Project, which was like Ryan Reynolds, and
And,
movie has the kid
what's his
who
name?
plays Percy Jackson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can't remember
Jennifer
his name now.
Gardner's. It's Jennifer Garner. Whatever. The movie's fine. It's forgettable, but
Yeah,
you could feel the sauce of the comedy there. But like the story is not good, so it's forgettable, right? Ultimately, and I would hope that this one has something to it. This new
I
whatever
I
Star
can
Wars movie.
see
I
I
don't. I
can
don't have a lot of
see
hope, but I would hope it does.
well, I can kinda see little tidbits of this acting in the trailer for Project Hail Mary, and
Oh, I'm not
that
watching that. Or
I'm
like the
hoping
trailer.
that yeah, no, no.
I'm
I'm hoping that
incredibly
it kinda
excited for that
carries
movie.
over. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can't wait. I still have to finish the book. But I'm really hoping that he kind of taps into that bag a little bit for Project Hail Mary, and something tells me he might, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
because Hail Mary is one of those movies where Lord and Miller haven't made a movie in forever, and I'm excited to see them make a movie together again. And on top of that, Greg Fraser shot it, even though people have issue with that. It's written by, it's from an Andy Weir book. Obviously, The Martian is fantastic, but I'm incredibly excited to see that movie. And I'm just, even Andy was like, "Oh yeah, there's spoilers in the trailer." I'm like, I'm not watching any. I wasn't watching it in the first place, but I'll actively avoid it now. Because I don't want to
Yeah.
see anything about the movie. I know, he goes to space or something. I don't know. Something happens. I I just
Yeah,
want
I
to see
won't
the
say anything.
movie. Give me
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't just give me movie. Give me movie on big screen.
Yeah.
Let me go because it'll be something great to see on the big screen with all the talent involved, and that's awesome. I like, and obviously he has this, whatever the new one coming out, and that's the thing. What was the movie? The movie he made with David Leitch, the action movie, the rom com movie with Emily Blunt,
Oh, Fall Guy.
the Fall Guy, right? Even the
Yeah.
Fall Guys, it's got a good love letter to like stuntmen, stunt people in general, but even that's forgettable to me.
Yeah.
He does like, and he's got another movie coming out with them. Or it's either him or Nicholas Holt, but like they have. He tries a lot. He's done a lot of good work, but recently he's doing a lot of IP work,
Mhm.
and it's been a bit. Besides Barbie, it's been a bit back and forth for me, and I
Yeah.
would hope that these projects turn out well. I don't know if they will, but
Yeah.
I'm rooting for my brother here. You got any companion movies for this one?
Ooh, to watch alongside it.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I think I've talked about like 30 different movies, buddy movies already. Rush Hour, Last Boy Scout, Kiss Kiss
Yeah.
Bang Bang, Midnight Run. Hot Fuzz. I recommend them all. Like buddy movies, the great ones are just fantastic.
Yeah,
Noir
I
movies are
mean,
fantastic. Detective movies, The Big Heat. Honestly, I would
Blood
recommend
Simple,
Blood
um,
Simple,
would be
Coen
a good
Brothers.
one. Yeah. Anything oh, Jesus. Beverly Hills Cop, Jesus Christ, I don't know
Yeah,
why it took so long to get there.
yeah,
Um,
that's a great
yeah,
one.
something like that, like, anything like that. Anything buddy comedy related, I mean, it's gonna fit well as, like, a double feature for something along these lines. I'm not wanting to go too far against the type of what this movie is,
Y
but, like, honestly, something like Blood Simple or something even No Country for Old Men would be a good little it'd be an interesting little double feature for
yeah.
this.
Thing
Um,
is, like, these
or
movies are like
Sicario
yeah.
or
Because it's
Cruising.
it's it's the juxtaposition of opposition, right? That
Yeah.
the opposition is side by side, and there's a lot of movies that do that. I was talking about Collateral, and it's like there's so many different movies that do it. I think you just have to find them and watch them, truly.
Mhm.
Whether it's a neo-noir movie, whether it's a noir movie, whether it's a comedy movie, whether it's a police movie, buddy movie, there's all sorts of ones out there, and I just hope people watch them more. Obviously, and I'm happy to be talking about The Nice Guys and Fuzz pretty much back to back in the same, like, plus or minus 3 episodes, because these are some of my favorite movies, genuinely. And I think Nice Guys is one of those that, it's been 9 years. People still have
Yeah.
not seen it enough. And it's one of those movies where I probably need to tell people more about. So this is us telling people about it a little bit more. That's all it
There
is.
you go.
Already. I already you'll have everything is linked for you, with the
Yes,
pod,
sir.
first time watch pod. Y'all
Yeah.
obviously already did 7. I did the big heat with you.
Yep.
Fritz
We did
Lang's
Miracle
Big
last
Heat.
night. Yep.
Miracle is coming. It'll be out. It'll be way out
It'll be out.
by the time this
Yeah.
comes out. This in November, late November. This is coming out next year. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Miracle should be out by the 28th of November of this year of
Yeah, there's
2025.
gonna be plenty of episodes
Um,
on the first time watch pod. Definitely
yeah.
check them out. All great conversations too, man.
Yeah.
So it's been great having you on for the nice
Yes,
guys.
sir. Yeah.
Just a couple,
I've been wanting to do this.
just a couple of nice guys here.
Yes,
Not
sir.
not in the negative way. Because nowadays
Nah.
nice guys are, it's like, I hate one of the worst sentences I've ever heard in my life is nice guys finished last. Such a
Yeah.
sad thing, such a stupid thing to say, but whatever. Alrighty. I will see you when I see you. You will obviously be back on the pod for something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have we talked? Because I was asking you at some point. I was
So
like, "What are we doing
we have
next?"
a couple things
lined
I
up.
wouldn't say lined up. Well, I mean, kinda lined up
In
for my
theory.
end of things. Yeah,
Yeah.
in theory. We have a couple things, so we've kinda tossed around. We haven't had a set date yet, but
Yeah.
we're gonna get that
Things
squared
will be
away here
happening.
pretty soon.
That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Alrighty. Peace and love. We will see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.